right. Whoa, what am I doing here? All right. Welcome to the show, you guys. I'm going to turn this off here really quick. Stop the share there. All right. I hope my internet is good tonight. I think it will be. Welcome to my new channel. This is actually, I believe I don't know, is it my second or my third live stream on it? So Susan, the trolls are out tonight. Just saw that thumb down. Oh, you know what? Of course they're going to be out. And what they're going to find out is this show really isn't even about them. I'm not focusing. I'm not going to focus on Sean Atwood tonight or Daddygate or anything to do with Androgyne or any of that this evening. Also, we're going to have limited discussion on, let's say, Sarah Rachel Adams and the things that are going on there. Although I am going to give an overview of my channel and some of the videos that I have uploaded over the last week and a half or so. I am rebranding what I'm doing here. And one of the things, well, first of all, the theme of tonight is about when I did the taping with Kevin Moore about Carrie Cassidy in Altadena, California, a couple of days ago. I'm not a couple of days ago, I mean a couple of years ago. I guess I'm kind of nervous. Yeah, not a couple of days ago, but a couple of years ago, we met in Altadena, California. And we at a place called the Coffee Gallery, and which is a place that I've been to. I've done performances at. It's an interesting place in Altadena. I don't know if you guys are familiar with where Altadena, California is, but it's kind of like, it's really close to Pasadena. It's like Pasadena, you go up, there's a main drag called Lake Street, and you go on up, and then there's Altadena, California. Very artistic area. Believe it or not, after I left Pasadena, I found out that the Theosophical Society is actually has their headquarters there. And again, knowing more about Pasadena and its history, you had Jack Parsons and the people who practiced Thelema, and basically orgies happening on Orange Grove Boulevard. But anyways, Kevin Moore and I met at the Coffee Gallery. Now, also, I want to say about the Coffee Gallery, it's connected to the Ice House Comedy Club, because one of the guys who started the Ice House Comedy Club back when the comedy club in Pasadena used to be a folk music place first. And then they started to bring in entertainers like, Gary Shandling and David Letterman and people like that have like plaques on the wall where they worked as an MC for the week and made like $150. But you had Cheech and Chong and, all of the old school comedians started to come in and sprinkle in with the folk music. And I think there was like, might even been like rock and roll bands were there too at that time. But Bob Stain, I'm just giving you the background. Bob Stain at the Coffee Gallery, there's a backstage area where they still do shows of folk music and filming and stuff. So the Coffee Gallery is kind of an interesting place. And we rented, or not we rented, but Kevin and the person that he was working with at the time rented the studio. I think we rented it for like a couple of hours, and it might have been like $20 an hour or something like that. So you could rent the space out. So that's how that came about. I see that some of you have some things that you're saying here. Isn't it a big dairy farm, Altadena? I think that's a different Altadena. There was an Altadena that was a big dairy farm, but the dairy farm was more closer to, I believe, San Joaquin Valley. Now, if I remember right, I lived in San Joaquin Valley when I was growing up, Fresno, and we would go to the Altadena Dairy, which is DENA, but I don't think the dairy is in Altadena. God, I'm pretty sure it's not here, Altadena. Because Altadena is like, Altadena, California is one word. It's Altadena, not separated. But anyway, so how I hooked up with Kevin Moore was actually through Sarah Rachel Adams, believe it or not. Because of the fact that Kevin was doing the documentary about Carrie Cassidy and Project Camelot, and her association. I feel like I can't talk tonight. Her association to Captain Mark Richards, which is known as being a secret space program whistleblower who was doing time or life in a state penitentiary. Now, I remember watching the first Captain Mark Richard videos that Carrie Cassidy did. And they were really fascinating because, she would always be coming out. She'd be like either in her car talking about going in to see him because she couldn't record him. And I don't even really think that she could take notes. All she could do is come out and then repeat by her own recollection as fast as she could of what Captain Mark Richards said to her while she was going into the state penitentiary to talk to him. Okay. So I remember watching a few of her videos doing this, and I don't know if you guys are here in the chat or here watching the show. Actually, I can only see Susan's the only person that's actually talking to me in the chat. And by the way, thank you, Susan, because Susan, you've been a supporter of what I've been doing for a really long time, and I really appreciate that. This is this is my second channel that I'm starting. As you guys know, I lost my other channel, which, I'm part of me is really happy to let it go. For me personally in my life right now, I have a lot of changes. By the way, I have a birthday coming up as well. My birthday's on the 4th of July. I'm also moving, and I'm going to relocate my vehicle, and I'm very excited about where I'm going and what my new beginning is. So I guess in a lot of ways I'm thinking about, in a transition, you think about when you're going to go forward in your life, what things you're going to take with you and not take with you physically, and or situations, people, way of doing things. It's kind of like letting go of the past and bringing in what's new. And one of the things that I like to bring in new to my channel is more positive. I created Not My Rabbit Hole because I wanted to give myself a place, really originally, to do a 30-minute satirical rant, give or take, a few minutes. It could be a little less than 30 minutes. It could be a little over 30 minutes. But I just wanted to do a satirical rant. And I started that out on Anchor. And the reason why I chose Anchor was because when it's easy to do, it's easy to record. And when you upload it, it will go to Spotify and to, Google Play, and, like 6 or 7 different places it automatically goes to. And then they suggested, Well, why don't you we suggest you record your podcast on Instagram, and you can get your Instagram audience to get involved with your podcast. And then you just upload, "Hi, RD Chillin', man. It's great to see you. I haven't seen you in a long time. Welcome to my new channel. I hope you did subscribe." So I'm obviously you must have if you got the notification. I want to go backwards and talk about a few things that happened in the past, especially the Kevin Moore interviews. I just want to go over that material and refresh you guys with stuff. And plus, Kevin Moore, actually, he contacted me recently too as well. Sent me an email and talked about me coming on his show and talking about Carrie Cassidy and things, and talking to people who actually were part of the part of his documentary as well. So Kevin Moore and I are gonna hook up again in different ways. And the reason why I wanted to bring this show back into the forefront with my new channel was because Stephen Cambion from Truth Seekers actually did a broadcast about, it's just like I'll show you what the title says, but it's something like Tere Joyce brings the truth, and the Kevin Moore interview. And then Kevin Moore came on that show. What happened in that interview is, unbeknownst to me, really, that day when we were there, I didn't know that they were going to drop an entire recording of Carrie Cassidy and Kevin Moore having a conversation. And it is very interesting to listen to. And we're going to play it again tonight here on my channel. Stephen Cambion played it on his channel. And that was when I was interviewing Kevin. See, the thing is that I was going to interview Kevin, and then Kevin was going to interview me. And then with my interview, I had another thing to bring to the table about Carrie Cassidy. All right. So let me see. Yeah, been a while for sure. Yeah, it has been a while. I was thinking about you too recently. So maybe it's psychic. I got the RD chillin' vibe. And also Raven TW. Hey, thanks for being great to see you here tonight as well. Okay, so where was I talking about my channel or about the ice house? Okay, okay, the channel, right? All right, so in losing my other channel, right? And I even lost a Facebook page, and I was able to get another one. All right, I lucked out. And with everything that we went through as people from 2016 until now, from the election of Trump and everything that's gone on, I feel that I had a viewpoint at that time that has changed. I don't know how to explain that. I mean, I wish in a way that I had not been so maybe black and white about things. And I feel that there are people that I argued frivolously over stuff that I wish I hadn't. And, so letting go of all that digital trash, just like all of a sudden it's just bleeped out of your reality. Boom, it's gone. Or even with my YouTube channel, there are ways in which I've done things that I would wish that I hadn't. Like even with Kevin Moore, there was a time where, there was difficulty between all of us. And I think it's because maybe it's what we're dealing with, like because of trying to figure out what the truth is, realizing that maybe some of the people that we've been watching that we thought were telling the truth or knew what was really going on, maybe they didn't. Or maybe even they have a different kind of agenda. Like maybe it's more of a manipulation to make money off of you or us and giving us some sort of disinformation. I find it fascinating, or I'm going to keep prying into it, how this particular media, and when I talk about media, the truth media, or the UFO disclosure media, and everything that spurns off from New Age enlightenment to oh well, let's talk about it. Let's talk about the meds. What is it? The beds. Let me look at that again. Med beds, right? Sarah Rachel Adams med beds now, like let's go to 22D and grow back an arm. Hey, I'd love to go back 25 years and be like 25 years younger too, but am I going to actually pay like $257 or $297 to go through a Zoom session and not even really lie in the bed itself? I mean, like it's just so shameless in a way to do those things and take advantage of people this way, when I think we're living at a time in human history where we're just trying to figure out what the real truth is. We know something's going to happen. Like, when you have Obama coming out and going, well, I've met an extraterrestrial, but I can't really talk about it right now. But, I could just say, that there's more to what our existence is. It's like, oh, wow, we're going to have disclosure now. Okay, what is that going to look like? Is it going to be the real disclosure? Is it going to be, this is going to be the, I don't want to sound like a fatalist, but that one question is this going to be the New World Order religion? Like it's getting weird right now. And again, in a way, I kind of like weird. It's like, oh, this is exciting. Let's see what happens now, All of a sudden the fat lady comes out and starts singing. Oh no, it's the end of the world. But getting back to this channel, I originally did, when I first started it, it was mainly to do the podcast. And then I started doing interviews again. And now that I've re-uploaded material here, like I uploaded some of my best interviews. I included my interview that I did with Lee Camp that I did on America Freedom Radio. Matter of fact, maybe I should just show you my channel just to kind of give you an overview of things. I did put up an interview with Miles Johnston. I did that because and some of these videos that I'm talking about, I will do shares and talk about them. But tonight we're going to talk about Kevin Moore. Let me show you some of the stuff that I started here in this channel, because it's not going to be just, yes, I will do the 30 minutes a satirical rant and exercise my funny bone, because I'm looking for different ways to communicate information. But I want to show you this here for a second. Okay, let me enlarge this to here. All right, so here's some of this is my library here, but I'll go to my actual channel here just to kind of give you an overview of some stuff, because the things that I uploaded are specifically gives a story about what I've done in the past in terms of being in this alternative media, and I think it's worthy to look at. Because it's going to fall into line about some of the things I'm talking about. Most recently, I uploaded my interview with John Irwin, who is a UK Special Forces assassin. That's a very interesting interview. I think you guys, if you're into it, you should check it out. John Irwin plays a big role in terms of his interaction with Miles Johnston and James Casbolt, and the crossover to the alleged super soldier program. Now, how I ended hooked up with John Irwin and got an interview with him. And by the way, I just re-spoke to John Irwin, and I'm going to bring him back on my show with a live stream, and I will be interviewing and doing a show with him again. And so I'm really excited to have him come back on the show. Also, here is, I think, the interview with Miles Johnston is interesting that I had with him. This was when I was just getting to know him, and we really had a bit of an intellectual riff in some ways. Although Also, I want to make note too, the artwork behind him that I used here, that is actually by an artist named Miles Johnston. There's an actual artist with the same name. So if you Google Miles Johnston, the artwork is very interesting. So I use that just in the background there. But one thing of note about this interview with Miles Johnston. One is, there's something interesting that he says about Max Spears at the end of the video. Also, he talks about John Irwin. And according to John Irwin, this is how I met John Irwin, was that he disagreed with what Miles Johnston said about him. Miles Johnston said that his mother was artificially inseminated, which that wasn't true, and really screwed up who he is and how he came to be and what he was all about. And so when he left a message on my YouTube channel and said, he's not telling the truth, on my other, that's not what happened. And I made a message back and I go, well, do you want to come on my show when I was on American Freedom Radio and set the record straight? And so he did. It's a very interesting interview. John Irwin has written a book that was opted to be a screenplay. Matter of fact, Sean Stone met him in England. Miles Johnston also did an interview of him with Sean Stone, although they wanted to change the script to be, I believe, the Iraq War, and historically that's not true. This was after World War II that he worked with the UK Special Forces. But he goes into talking about how he found ancient technology. That was what they were uncovering. And so in Jeraba, Egypt. Very interesting interview. And so I highly recommend that if you get a chance to revisit my channel, that you do take a moment to review it and listen to it. Also, as you can see, I have here, I edited this morning. This is a clip from Carrie Cassidy and Miles Johnston's first interview after Max Spears' death. And this is where Sandra DeRoy, according to her, she says that Max Spears had blocked Sarah for many months and that he had no contact with her prior to his death. So I just edited that because I'm being factual about things. These are my questions here. Again, one of the conflicts that I've had recently, and the reason why I have been so trolled, is because there's two different stories in terms of what happened at the end of Max's life. And one of those stories is that Sarah was going to be his fiance. They're going to get married. They're going to have a baby. They have plans for the future. And the reason why his cell phone was damaged was because it fell in the bathtub while they were sexting. Now, I have talked to Vanessa Bates. Here is a recording where she confirms that Sarah was not with Max before he passed. All right. According to to her knowledge, they were not together at that time either. And it's highly unlikely that the cell phone fell into the bathtub that way. Now, the reason why I bring these two things up is because this has been something that I've been asking for a while now. Ever since that Sandra DeRoy started doing a video about how she had prior knowledge from Miles Johnston not to go to Poland because she would, be harmed if she were to see him there because they were going to do something to him. She just recently came out with a series of videos about that. And if you go back, and by the way, if you want to, this is very hard to find, but this is the entire, first interview that Miles and Carrie do. So if you want to go back and watch that in detail, you can. That's really hard to find on the internet. So I uploaded that just to bullet point things. A lot of the conflict that I've had right now with Taj or Sarah, and again, I don't want to spend too much time talking about it, is I've been questioning this. When Sandra came onto the scene, she said that she had Taj and Sarah's blessing to say what she was saying. And, but if you go back to here, they're saying two different things. Like, my question is how can they give her their blessing to her when she's saying, when her original story of what happened at the last days of Max's life is in direct opposition to what Sarah did and marketed and went to the papers with and had splashed all over the place. So every time I ask that question, I just get, tweets about, what a loser I am and how I live in an RV and I don't deserve any answers. And, and I get, blamed for or accused of sending, harassing, threatening to rape Sarah by email. And she does a blast out to other media hosts. Hopefully they would pick up the story about that on me. And, obviously it's not true. Matter of fact, my cousin completely freaked out. Like my cousin watches my channel and he goes, what? You could sue her. I go, yeah, I know I could sue her. But actually, it doesn't look like anybody really picked up Sarah's, crazy story about me to splash out in the media anywhere. Instead, they are actually going again, talking about her, and the medbed scam is just trending everywhere. So I'm just saying that. I mean, that's a bunch of stuff that's happened, and I don't really want to spend a whole lot of time focusing on it anymore tonight because I'm not wanting to go there, but I have to talk about it. Because I'm sure you guys have all been watching what I've been uploading, or some of you have watched what I've been uploading. And then we get into the Daddygate coverage, which I will eventually get back to and explore too as well. And so here we go. That is, this is pretty much my new channel, and I really appreciate all of you who have subscribed so far to it. Hi, Gary Rayner. Great to see you. And Shadow Band account is here. Awesome. Great to see you guys. Okay, so I guess I should get started on showing you guys my interviews with Kevin Moore. And so let me do a screen share here, get things set up here on that. Let me see. Oh, wait a second. Of course I would go to the wrong place. All right, so I think what I'll do is I'm going to start with me interviewing him and then showing some of that and then getting to the Carrie Cassidy recording about Captain Mark Richards. Let me put it to here. Again, Captain Mark Richards, if you don't know or not familiar with the story, but many of you already are, but just for those who might be looking at my channel and not really know what's going on. Obviously, this is when I had freedom of choice. And let me stop the share just to make sure I'll reshare it here in a minute. I had red hair then. Okay, so back then I had my hair red. So Captain Mark Richards, again, Kerry Cassidy would be doing these interviews saying that he was a secret space program, come outside of a penitentiary, give us the whole details, all this exciting, like I'm just doing this from recall, this is what's happening. But thanks to Kevin Moore and Jeff Reed, because I guess how the story went is Jeff Reed approached Kevin Moore about, hey Jeff, hi, yeah. So Jeff Reed approached Kevin Moore and said there's much more into the story here about Captain Mark Richards. And there is, because he was, he's like a cult Manson-like person that was part of sort of the Pendragon Society that had a whole Camelot thing, which I think is interesting because Carrie Cassidy has a Camelot thing, right? There's this Camelot theme that I've noticed, and he was basically was like a terrorist group. They were gonna do things to Marin where they can take over it. There were really serious terrorist threats going on as well, and they were, they wanted to be like the Camelot of Marin County in California. Now, Marin, California is a very rich area, by the way, and just so you know. So it's I don't know, it's just it. So there's a guy named Richard Baldwin that was murdered by Crossan Hoover, who was kind of brainwashed and controlled into it. Also, this case is one of the first Dungeon and Dragon type of cases as well. There's a Dungeon and Dragon aspect to this, which I thought was interesting. But you can read about it, and Kevin Moore has done a lot of things in his documentary about it. So I want to bring up or start the share of showing some of this interview that we did back then, and I just love the tape recording. It's classic, really.
The freedom of choice.
Oh wait, let me just make sure I always worry about the fact that maybe I didn't do the volume part correctly. So okay, here we go.
Show here on YouTube, and hopefully it will re-air on American Freedom Radio. Today my guest is Kevin Daniel Moore. Welcome to the show today.
Thank you so much, Terry, for having me on. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. I'm glad to see you in person.
Yeah, I know we've talked a little bit on the telephone. I know some bits about your work, and I thought, you know what, you're going to give us the opportunity to have an interview, and I just wanted to talk about the work that I'm doing right now.
Great. I'm really looking forward to hearing about it. So you are working on a documentary about Carrie Cassidy and one of her secret space program disclosures, Captain Mark Richards.
Yes, I am. I wouldn't say, when I say the documentary on Kerry Cassidy, no. Is she going to be included in this documentary? Very possible. Very possible. I don't know if we cannot not include her, because she's the reason why Captain Mark Richards is back out there, as famous as he is in the kind of micro circuit of Project Camelot, right? No, Kerry, I don't think there would be a Mark Richards. I don't think Joanne Richards, his wife, would have been able to get as much publicity as what the notoriety of what Kerry's done for this man. She's made him the top whistleblower. And I had no idea when I was starting to do this documentary on Captain Mark Richards that the guy was Kerry's top whistleblower.
I have seen a YouTube video of Captain Mark Richards. I think I saw one of the first videos that she did on him, and she would come out. She would talk about going into seeing him, that she couldn't put him on camera, and then she'd come out from memory. She would disclose the information about Captain Mark Richards by memory. And here we naive viewers are believing all of it. Do you think that maybe there's a possibility that she never even saw Captain Mark Richards, and she's just like regurgitating her own fantasy or misinformation about what's going on? He's just a figurehead, a photo for people.
Yeah, it's possible, but I think she goes in to see him. She's been to see him 10 times now. The only journalist that's been to see him. And he's been locked away for 36 years for the murder of his friend Richard Alexander Baldwin, along with his crime partner Crossan Hoover. Now the thing is, I never ever considered that Kerry doesn't vet, the people that she has as long-term guests on her show. What vetting are we going to do? You know what I mean? If there's some inconsistencies in the story, maybe we'll pick them up in the interview. But unless it's complete bollocks, we're there to give the airspace to the people and then talk about their work. I tell you what the documentary has done for me. The word discernment is just being out of me right now, and I want the documentary to be a discerning documentary for, I want to call it our community, the community, the community that I've been a part of since 2008, when I first took up radio broadcasting at Glamorgan University in Wales. And I was shocked.
You know, one thing that I'm going to show another video of Kevin Moore tonight too, in his response to Carrie Cassidy about him doing this documentary, and I do believe that he has degrees in radio broadcasting and I believe journalism as well. So you know, Kevin Moore does come with some chops behind him. I'm just saying that, just letting you guys know.
I was shocked to find out that when I interviewed Kerry Cassidy in Los Angeles back in June last year, I mentioned Mark Richards because previously I had interviewed Joanne Richards in 2013. Didn't think the story was very credible, but I thought, you know, it's got a lot of traction right now.
Okay, so I want to acknowledge what Jeff said right here. I'm not convinced she actually visited him all the time. She said she did. And you know what? I thought about that too. Because who's to say that she didn't just come out and do a great acting job and go, oh, you know, he said blank. Oh, you know, I just talked to Captain Mark Richards and he said blank, 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 and blank, 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 and blank, blank, blank. How do we know that actually really took place? Is it made up? Right? It could be. You can't just cross that out. All right, I'll take me out of here for a minute. Let's go to here. Okay.
Also, it's kind of in fashion back then. It definitely was more when I interviewed Kerry last year. And there was a guy on there that trolled me that basically would not leave me alone, a guy called Jeff, who basically, you know, had been trying to get the attention of someone for many years that the story was bogus. So once I'd done the interview with...
Are you guys having an echo? I just saw Gary Rayner saying, are you guys experiencing an echo? Let me put in the earphones in. Whoa, darn it. I'll keep it going, but it'd probably be all right. But let me put earphones.
With Kerry, he left Los Angeles, went to Contacts in the Desert. I was just losing faith being at Contacts in the Desert because I watched David Wilcott give a speech. I watched Corey Good and many other secret space program whistleblowers there, and I just knew that, you know, it was just like, this is just not right. Some of this stuff is just a load of crap, right? Mm-hmm. Or I didn't resonate with it at all. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, I get this guy exploded on my Facebook page saying, how dare you interview this lady, in a sense, you know, she mentioned me on that interview, you know, it was me that tried to contact you 5 years ago, 4 years ago, whenever it was, you know, blah, blah, blah. So this guy was a guy called Jeff, and I said to him, well, listen, let's speak man to man over the phone, and what are you talking about? That this Mark Richards isn't true. So anyway, we had a good conversation on the phone, and I decided that it was worth my time to leave Desert Springs and head up to Paradise, where the Paradise Files happened, where Jeff was based. I was also at the time recording a documentary on channeling, which is yet to be released. Again, that documentary will be my journey on discerning how I've done this documentary with Mark Richards. So I get there, and he shows us links. We were recording it together, and I take these links away back to the UK that I'd seen, and I was like, this is just not right. There's a backstory here. This guy, Mark Richards, there's a story called Pendragon. There's a story called Pendragon. Why isn't this on Kerry Cassidy's channel? So, I called her. And why don't we play back the permission to record that conversation? I've not released it yet, and if you want to put it in this show, we can play it back now.
Okay, let's play that.
I don't know if my video's working. I don't think it is.
Actually, I'm not going to use video because we have a very low bandwidth here, so it's
okay. Let's just use the audio. That's fine then. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, sorry I kept missing you and everything else. That was my fault a little bit. I just got back to the UK yesterday, last night actually. So that was a long flight. Yes. So yeah, you're over in the UK then.
You guys, is that better? I mean, like that. Now that I put the earphones in, are you getting? Is it better than it was before? I can't understand bad audio. Okay. Hopefully that's better. I can go back a little bit. Let's go back a little bit. If it was bad, let's just go back. Here. Let's go back here.
Definitely was more when I interviewed Kerry last year. And there was a guy on there that trolled me that basically would not leave me alone, a guy called Jeff, who basically, had been trying to get the attention of someone for many years that this story was bogus. So once I'd done the interview with Kerry, I left Los Angeles, went to Contacts in the Desert. I was just losing faith being at Contacts in the Desert because I watched David Wilcock give a speech, I'd watched Corey Good and many other secret space program whistleblowers there, and I just knew that, it's just like, this is just not right. Some of this stuff is just a load of crap, right? Mm-hmm. Or I didn't resonate with it at all. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, I get this guy exploding on my Facebook page saying, "How dare you interview this lady? In a sense, she mentioned me on that interview. It was me that tried to contact you 5 years ago, 4 years ago, whenever it was. Blah blah blah." So this guy was a guy called Jeff, and I said to him, "Well, listen, let's speak man to man over the phone, and what are you talking about? About this Mark Richards isn't true." So anyway, we had a good conversation on the phone, and I decided that it was worth my time to leave Palm Desert Springs and head up to Paradise, where the Paradise Fires happened, where Jeff was based. I was also at the time recording a documentary on channeling, which is yet to be released. Again, that documentary will be my journey and a lot more discerning now I've done this documentary with Mark Richards. So I get there and he shows us links. We record an interview together, and I take these links away back to the UK that I'd seen, and I was like, this is just not right. There's a backstory here on this guy, Mark Richards. There's a story called Pendragon. Why isn't this on Kerry Cassidy's channel? So I called her, and why don't we play back the audio recording that we did with her now, because she asked permission to record that conversation. I've not released it yet, and if you want to put it in this show, we can play it back now.
Okay. Let's play it back.
I don't know if my video's working. I don't think it is.
Actually, I'm not going to use video because we have a very low bandwidth here, so it's better
okay.
Not to.
Let's just use the audio. That's fine then. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, sorry I kept missing you and everything else. That was my fault a little bit. I just got back to the UK yesterday, last night actually. So that was a long flight. Yes. So yeah, you're over in the UK then.
I am. Yes.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Well, yeah. What I've been wanting to reach you for was just to let you know about a chap that I run into when I was over in San Francisco. So I was over at Contact in the Desert, and I just released my interview with yourself, and when I was at Contact, then this chap this chap got in contact with us by audio, by the phone. Eventually, once we swapped numbers and everything else, to tell me a story about this chap Mark Richards. Now, initially, I did not want to speak to him really, because I didn't want anything to do with it. Do you know what I mean? I've put my interview with you out, and it really, it's really not my business, to be honest with you. But doing this documentary on channeling, one thing it's shown me is that I've had to show discernment just in that channeling documentary quite a bit, right? And I thought, well, if I'm going to apply it to that, then maybe I should apply it to this other, side as well, this UFO side that I'm into. So I thought about it, and I thought, well, go on then, I'll speak to him, and I did. And it was interesting what he had to say. This guy knew the son of a guy called Baldwin, the guy that was murdered in the case of Mark Richards. That's how he knew the son, not the family much. But anyway, so he's telling me this story over the phone, and he sends me a couple of links, and it was just interesting what was in what the links had to say. I'd never come across the murder before. I thought Mark Richards was, innocent. Did you know what I mean? Like probably you do as well.
You thought he was what? I'm sorry.
No, I'm saying I thought he was innocent. I mean, when I watched it,
he is actually innocent.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to record this if you don't mind.
Oh,
and
sure,
by the way,
she's so sure. Oh yeah, he is innocent. He is innocent. Oh, by the way, I'm loving your comments, Jeff. Sometimes Carrie has mood swings on the phone. We're gonna get to that. It's gonna happen. This is juicy. I love it. Carrie is so delightful on the phone. True kindness. Yes. Okay, so
you should turn your video off because it still looks like it's trying to put video on, which is dragging down the bandwidth.
Oh, hang on then.
So you have to actually hit your camera and turn it off, which is, when you click on your camera, it either has a slash through it, meaning it's off.
Yeah, it's got the slash through there. It's got the slash through there already. I just checked it now while I was speaking.
Odd. Okay,
yeah.
well, it seems, I guess we're having low bandwidth. All right, well, whatever. We can't do anything about it.
Let me just make sure. Let me just make sure.
You're Kevin Moore, and you're saying you interviewed me, and then you got contacted by some guy, and
the way she says it too, she's like,
what I'd like to do is,
you're Kevin Moore, blah 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 blah. It's like it's got a demeaning tinge to it, right?
If you don't mind, it's up to you. If you want, if you don't want me to pass it on, I won't. But I would give it to Joanne, Mark's wife, so he sees what people are doing. Because obviously they have a legal case. They're trying to get Mark out of prison.
Right.
If people are calling people associated with me and giving them, wrong information or whatever kind of information they're giving, it can be very useful for them. So do you mind that, or would you rather I don't do that?
No, of course you can pass it on. Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
So if you could tell me again, who is this person that called you?
This is a guy called Jeff Reed.
Jeff Reeves?
Reed.
Reeve. Okay.
Reed.
No, yeah. Jeff Reeve. Jeff Reeve is here tonight, guys. Jeff Reeve. Sometimes Carrie has me. Okay, yeah. Sometimes Carrie's me. So Jeff Reed is here in the chat.
Yeah, Jeff Reed.
Okay. And then what was the gist of what he was saying again? I don't quite understand.
Sure.
What was the gist he was saying again? I don't quite understand. I don't quite understand.
Again, I'll say I'll answer it from this perspective, right? Before I just answer that. Like I said to you, I've interviewed Joanne it was a few years ago now. Do you know what I mean? It was many moons ago. Was it 2013? It might have been. And I interviewed her because, well, I guess, I knew it was a popular subject at the time. This was like years ago. I knew it was a popular subject. But, there were some things in the story that didn't sit with me. Do you know what I mean? But, hey, we don't believe in everything we're told, do we? But
no.
The main thing was, that this man was, had been innocently framed, and I think anyone watched felt the same way. And I wasn't thinking of Mark Richards. Do you know what I mean? Much when we did the interview with yourself, but this was a chap that had contacted me before years ago when I released that first interview with Joanne. After the interview, he contacted. Well, I say contacted. We had a slight email exchange, but again, I forgot about his email exchange. Loads of other things going on. That's not my life. But when he recontacted me again while I was at Contact in the Desert, he was like, this is the guy that sent you that original email. And I was like, oh, hang on, I do know you. And then it got into a bit of a heated argument because I really didn't want to know about it. Do you know what I mean? Unless he's got some really good evidence that this man's innocent, you can't go around and just, saying that someone is guilty. That doesn't work in my book. You have to be provable. Do you know what I mean? And at the same time, I didn't want to get involved in it neither because, I'm making a documentary on channeling. This is, it's stuff I cover, this stuff, but it's not stuff I'm focused on right now. Do you know what I mean? But sure. What was interesting was he was telling me the story that, and none of this can be backed up. None of this can be verified as such, this part of his story. But as a child, he knew the Baldwin, the son of Baldwin, the son of the chap that was murdered. So what's the guy that was murdered? What was his name? It was... I haven't got it in front of me. It was, just bear with me. I'll just grab it. The guy that was murdered was Richard A. Baldwin, 36. So Richard A. Baldwin, 36, was the man that was murdered. and this guy knew that man's son, and this guy was also from that area as well. He was a kid at the time, so when that murder of Richard A. Baldwin took place, it was made very well known to him that, do you know that kid you was hanging around with? Well, that kid's father is the man that's been murdered. So he grew up in that era basically. Now, again, none of this is provable that he knew that child or that he was there. But what was interesting, what he sent through to me, was the 22 links on the actual murder case. And when I started going through the links, well, it was kind of obvious to me then that this murder really did take place, right? And it's such an old case that it's not a modern case. This was July 6, 1982. So it's, it may seem not that long ago for some people, but actually that is a while ago. That is a while ago. And a couple of the people who were released recently, Hoover was one of the kids associated with Richard. Sorry, not Richard, I mean Mark to make the murder happen. He was released recently in 2007. So on Seattle Times and ABC News, I've also got the articles for those as well, where Richard's accomplices were released. It was actually a bit of a little famous case because this guy was a complete nutcase, Mark was, in some respects, because he wanted to set this this new camera up in the Golden Gate area. I know it sounds crazy what I'm saying to you, but again, reading the court documents.
You're assuming that I know nothing about the case when I've done a lot of investigation. So
Right.
I know all about that. And actually,
Right.
he wasn't a nut and he wasn't doing that. And the whole thing was manufactured. But it's, I understand the perspective out there and I understand the links and the things you've read. So what is I guess kind of wanting you to cut to the chase.
Okay, so I wanted to stop this for a minute. You know how she says, I know about it, and I know this and that, and that's what everybody thinks happened. He's a victim. He's in the secret space program. Of course, they had to make up this big cover story to incarcerate him because he has special information and he's a whistleblower, and that's why he's really in prison. What does that sound like too, also? And I'm just going to bring his name up, Sean David Morton. All right. Sean David Morton also, didn't commit tax fraud and all kinds of other things. He's now a prisoner of war, and she's procuring donations on her website. I'm wondering, is Sean David Morton really even in prison? Like, are these people just continuously, all of a sudden so-and-so is this and that and blah, blah, blah. We got to get donations. They're distressed. They got their arm card off. We got to get a donation for them. It just goes on and on and on. Like how far is the scam? Like, I gotta ask that. All right, let's be real here. I'm trying to figure out what is really going on. It's hard at this point to say, oh, Carrie Cassidy and everything that she's doing doesn't smell fishy, or let's just believe everything. All right. What if these people, and here's so sad about it, because of the fact that, because one of the things that Kevin Moore says, or I've seen him say in other videos, he talks about Carrie Cassidy being a spiritual teacher. Like, these people become spiritual teachers because it goes back to what the beginning of our existence is. Like, oh, it's aliens. We're spawned by aliens. It's the fallen angels of the Nephilim, and they got the Anunnaki, and it goes on and on and on and on and on and on. Right. And, Astar Command and the Galactic Federation of Light, and it just spouts into all these different directions. So it could get it. What's the difference between this and a phony evangelist? Right? There is no difference. It's just the same thing. It's offering another explanation, really. All right, so let's continue.
Because I don't have a lot of time. I'm packing to go to
I don't have a lot of time.
So
I'm packing to go to Barcelona.
What new information was this person trying to provide?
Well, I never knew about if you knew about these links before, I don't think you that's not like out there as these links are out there and people can just find them. Most people go along with the story that Mark Rich is telling you, and they don't know about the opposing 22 links or 23 links, as I'm telling you, that they won't know about.
No,
those.
it's all you have to do is do a search on the web. You can find this stuff.
I don't think most people are doing those searches. They'll just take it as absolute.
Well, that's their business. Yeah. I mean, that happens with everything I release.
They'll take that.
Who could say what people investigate and what they take the time? I mean, it's dead easy to put a search term into Google and start your search.
Sure. I was one of those people that wouldn't have done that. I don't think. I don't know why. I just wouldn't. You know, it's just not something you do.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
okay, fine.
Because it's like it's so out there. The story is. It's so interesting. But what the interesting part about his backstory about in the court cases was he was so out there anyway. In the original court case, you know, he had this. He wanted to be the new King Arthur and such, and put this new.
Yeah, this is not accurate, but nonetheless, whatever.
What?
You got to understand, this is an intelligence agency operation,
and that could be the truth.
It's going to have whatever details they decided to paint.
That could be the truth, but
okay, but why the King Arthur thing? That's the thing that gets me, and why does Carrie Cassidy have an association to that? Like, that's just an odd coincidence, or is it a coincidence?
What if that wasn't the truth and the opposite was true? Have you considered that?
Of course, anyone can entertain both sides of the story, you know. But what I'm saying, Kevin, I'm trying to cut to the chase here. Are you bringing me new information? Are you just saying go look at those links? I've already done that. So
yeah, she's so charming. She's definitely condescending.
That would be the end of this conversation. If you have new information, if that guy has new information, then what is the new information?
Well, obviously I didn't know you knew about that. So you know about those links, right.
Well, for God's sake, I'm an investigative reporter. You know, I'm interviewing some guy 8 times. I go to the trouble to go.
I don't. Where does Carrie become an investigative reporter? She went to film school. She's got an acting resume. She was a fantasy writer. I don't see investigative reporter in her resume. Not like Kevin Moore. Not like Kevin Moore, right? Kevin Moore has a degree in journalism. Carrie Cassidy, I don't believe does.
Go to prison. I mean, give me a little credit here. I do investigate my people and their sources, etc. So, I do as much due diligence as I find necessary. And yes, of course, I've investigated the case.
But would you ever
actually, just so you know the background, I investigated the case before I was ever in Camelot.
Right, so you because you knew of Joanne back before then, yeah.
And
hi, Stephen Cambion. Nice to see you here. Yeah, I'm doing also my commentary on this particular on Kevin Moore, my interviews with him too. So, yeah, and I mentioned you too, and I watched most of your I watched all of your show tonight on Sarah Adams and the med beds. By the way, I just didn't comment as much because I was cleaning and everything, but I was there. I was hanging. Great show. Oh, here. Yeah, I'm glad you're doing this. Thank you. Yeah, I really think that this needs to be seen again. We need a constant, I'm going to mirror it on my channel and bring it out. Didn't someone say she was a bag lady for the Bilderbergers? I don't know. That's funny. Okay, let's keep going.
I determined the guy was innocent and that I wanted to interview him before I ever even knew I was going to be an interviewer.
But
strangely enough.
But what if he wasn't?
Well, of course, what if he wasn't? I mean, that's always a possibility.
But if he wasn't,
you have to
if he
rely on your own.
But if he wasn't,
inner whatever kind of thing.
Sure. But
I mean, I can't tell you what to think. I don't want to tell you what to think.
But
making a call to me, you're claiming this guy calls you. Did the guy call you just to direct you to some investigation that you could do on your own that, any regular person can just do? Or did he give you new information?
Well, I never knew about any of this. So to me, it was new information to me.
I get that.
Yeah. And I was going up to the Irons Institute to do a bit of filming for the documentary I was making. So he was only a couple of hours beyond that. So I did a little interview with him just to film him. And to me, it was
That's
all, well, news that you've covered before. To me, the thing was, right, well, if he wasn't innocent and he had actually done these, then him trying to create this coup would have been just as crazy as the information he's bringing out now. What if he is not telling the truth? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, what if he wasn't? I mean, duh. This is, it's just like, that's true of any case. All I can tell you is, I've sat with the man for hours on end. I evaluated him based on my intuition and my investigation prior to every meeting with him. I've spent hours with his wife as well. I mean, a person has to make their own evaluation, as I said. Now, of course, there are going to be people who are supporting the family of the murderers. And keep in mind that Mark is supposed to be, of all things, the mastermind, which is complete absurdity. Of two people who did.
It's not absurd. It's not absurd for somebody to be the mastermind. That it happens a lot, right? I mean, like the Manson murders. It's okay. Let's keep going.
The murder. He didn't do the murder anyway, from the point of view of the state.
No. He never put the screwdriver through the heart. He never put.
And he was gonna. It was an act of terrorism. Like he was planning to take over Marin County and make it a new Camelot. That there's a whole. You can't just minimize it like this.
And you believe that this concocted story, and it's just the whole thing is ludicrous. Fine if it doesn't matter what you can believe, whatever you want, but.
What a perfect scam, right? A guy's in prison. Nobody can really see him talk. Some lady marries him, goes to all the UFO expos, speaks on his behalf, takes donations. We don't, Carrie can come out and give a report on what he said. We don't even know if he exactly even said it, or even if she even visited him or not. It's the ultimate scam.
For the purposes of this phone call, I guess what you're doing is you're letting me know that you've done an interview with some guy who knew the son of the guy that was murdered. Is that correct?
That's exactly who it was. Yeah.
Okay, fine. So he's not exactly that close to the situation.
Not at all.
And he's also somebody who's coming forward years later to suddenly try to contact you. Now, it's interesting that he's trying to contact you, and you said you interviewed Joanne, and he did the same thing then. So then you have to ask yourself, is this guy a paid informant? Is he working for the CIA? There's all kinds of reasons.
Jeff Reed, are you working for the CIA?
Why a person comes forward in this way to try to bring a journalist such as yourself into one direction or another. You can believe him, and it's fine if you did an interview. I guess thanks for letting me know. Not that it matters too terribly much to me, but if you think.
Okay, so Jeff has a comment here. Mark was their boss on the job. They did it at Mark was their boss on the job they did at Baldwin's house when they murdered him. Mark was their boss. Yes. Okay. Gosh, I should put my glasses on. The light is just so bright. Okay. Hey, Rudy Roo, nice to see you here. Yay. All right. I'm still waiting for my first paycheck. Well, I hope you get it. You deserve it, Jeff.
You think I'm going to change my point of view because this guy is suddenly coming forward to say,
no.
look at these links
Absolutely.
that have been out there for 20 years or 30 years.
Absolutely.
It's not important to me.
No, absolutely. You cannot just judge a story just on one person's angle. That's absolutely what it was for me was the 23 plus websites, archived information about the case. That's what it was like. They are. So I thought to myself, well, not all of this can be implanted CIA information on these sites. This looks like a very genuine kind of backstory on this what this guy was up to. And his accomplices as well. Now, of course, he never committed the murder, but he was the one that egged these 17-year-olds on at the time. That's what they're saying. He was the one that brainwashed them in a sense. So
yeah, right.
Yeah.
And again, they were 17 years old. So he's taking advantage of young people, probably young people that were lost, that maybe needed a father figure.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I mean, most of the people that took part in this case, the superintendent and other people, are dead. right? Not dead or dying, or they're not around, or they're just they're they're now.
That's convenient.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, it is and it ain't, but there are other people that could be traced into this case. If you put the homework in, you would find that you could really trace the real people involved in this case. But whether it's the 2007 release of Hoover or it's other people, you would.
Okay, let me ask you this, Kevin, because obviously this guy had nothing new to add.
No.
Have you ever investigated a false flag? No, just wait 1 second. Have you ever investigated a false flag? Do you know what I mean when I say a false flag?
This is my favorite part. Have you ever investigated a false flag? You know what I mean by a false flag? I mean, just think about this.
I know what you mean by a false flag. I know what you mean by a false flag.
Okay, have you ever tried to investigate one?
Well, let me ask you this. Would you put these links out in a new video just to say, look, guys, here's the...
It's like talking about a false flags is like a sure way to get your channel taken down, Carrie.
Here's this case.
Because I don't. No, that's not what I do. I have no interest in that.
Why?
I mean, I'm not a reporter trying to investigate his murder case.
But then, if I was covering the Mark Richards stuff like you have done, right? And if someone else came to me with, you knew about the links before. You knew about the 23 plus links online anyway.
It's out in the public domain. You can investigate the case anytime you want.
It's out in the public domain. The way she talked, it's out in the public domain.
Why wouldn't you just have the opposing there in the video to say, look, here's what he's saying?
No, actually, that's not what my job is. I mean, everyone does what they want to do about these things. My job is, and our discussions are not about a murder for which he was framed over 30 years ago. And, even at this time, he, again, as the mastermind, there's a law on the books right now saying that somebody should be released from prison if they were a supposed mastermind of a murder because they were not the one who did it. And so that Mark is actually way beyond his stay in prison for any kind of involvement.
Where is that? Where is that law on the books? This just sounds like it's made up.
You want to call it that, in this situation.
Well,
but in my view, he's completely innocent. He was off the planet when the fucking murder.
Oh, she just said fuck. Okay, so would that apply to Charles Manson? I don't think so.
Happened,
if that's the truth. Yeah, but if that's the truth, if he was, if that's the truth. Of the
secret space. Look, if you don't understand, I mean, I have so much evidence of the way this works. Have you ever looked at Obama's birth certificate? I mean, you really got to get a grip. This is.
Here she is. Have you ever looked at Obama's birth certificate? Like, she's even bringing up Obama's birth certificate to him as if that is valid, and as if are you stupid enough? Like she's discrediting him with conspiracy theories as if he doesn't know the current conspiracy theory.
A whole different way of looking at reality. The false flags, the reason I ask you about false flags is that if you investigate false flags, you begin to go down a rabbit hole, which is unbelievable, of people who are lying.
There's that word, going down the rabbit hole.
Lying about people being killed. I mean, listen to my interviews with James Fetzer. Ask yourself why YouTube doesn't want those interviews out there in the public. They've deleted them off my site. He's an ex-Marine. He's a tenured professor for zillions of years. He's written over 10 books. He's a heavy-duty investigator, a very respectable man, and he investigates in minutia every false flag that has happened in the United States. He's obsessed with it. And so what you really have to do is look at the false flags, start to see how evidence can be manufactured by the secret government, by law enforcement under orders from higher ups, etc., and disappeared, etc. You really have to go down that road. It's a fascinating journey, and I encourage you to take it. I don't have time right now to educate you as to all the steps, but I can encourage you to watch my James Fetzer interview, which is no longer on YouTube. It is now on Steemit and also on, what is this called? BitChute.
This is called diverting the conversation. Wow, I didn't realize BitChute was out there that long, because this was like I think we taped this in 2019.
So if you just go to BitChute, you put in Project Camelot, you should find it, no problem. This is the reality. Manufactured evidence is so common.
Okay.
Look at Pearl Harbor. That was a fucking false flag. And if you don't know this stuff, you need to get educated.
Let me ask you one thing.
This is a tactic. This is again, you need to educate yourself. This is a false flag. This is not, she's taking the conversation away from Richard Baldwin.
This was a false flag.
Yeah.
The governments knew. They set it up.
Yeah.
They staged it.
I wouldn't be absolutely surprised in some of those cases that they were staged or things that happen on purpose to let things happen.
This is what goes on.
Yeah,
so if you don't want to believe, evidence that you see in front of you that these people think they're giving you and so, it's your choice. You have to rely on your intuition. You have to rely on your ability to investigate. If you think that I should be putting those links on my website, I appreciate your opinion, but I'm not doing it. Okay. Because I think it's bullshit.
But then the only thing me and you don't know, the thing that we don't know, right, was a Richard A. Baldwin of 36, did he really exist? And was his life taken? That's what
if I died, we're not questioning that there was a murder. It was in the news and everything, and apparently that much was true.
The murder happened, right? So who did kill him? Who did kill him?
And claim that I masterminded it. How can I counter that? Seriously, but it's a method of the mind. You're talking about a man who didn't come with any kind of instrument, show up on the scene or anything. He was supposed to have masterminded. And that is a mental. Did David Koresh mastermind, whatever that was called, Waco? Are these people responsible? Did Jesus persuade people of things, or did he verbally did you record his voice? Did he actually write in the Bible?
This is cracking me up where she's going with this, right?
Those words.
Well, we don't know any of that, but we're talking about this particular case.
This is what we're talking about. Think about it. You're talking about. It's basically, when you reduce it all down, it's fucking word of mouth. There's nothing that can prove it.
Absolutely not. I don't. This murder victim, I can't prove a thing. I wasn't there at all. No, none of us were.
It's not about whether you were there. I'm saying what he was accused of was masterminding a murder. And I'm saying to you, you can read all the evidence you want of the murder, but you cannot prove that those 17-year-olds were brain controlled by him. Who else could brain control and who's very likely to mind control people? Well, hello, the Nazis. Well, hello, the people that took over mind control technology from the Nazis, which is the secret.
Well, hello.
Government. But hello.
He had this.
Well, hello.
Mark Richard's an individual, or is it the state? You put your allegiance with the state in this conversation, certainly. And, all I'm saying to you is that's not my point of view. I see way beyond that. And I've got proofs for so many years. And, it's just ridiculous. All I can tell you is look at Obama's birth certificate and ask yourself, that fucking guy was president of the United States. And the lies are just so plentiful. It's unbelievable. So,
get unbelievable.
Get a grip. This is the reality we live in. I didn't create it, but I can tell you that if you want to believe the evidence that this man is showing you, that's already very much in the public domain and has been for 30 God knows how many years, do so. It's all right. If you want to put it on your website, if you want to put all the links for people, you've done an interview with me, which is not very nice because it was visually horrible. But aside from that, I think my information was good and clear. I don't encourage people to think what I want them to think.
Horrible.
I want them to think for themselves. But I'm not, on the other hand, I am not going to become, a worker for the state and post their bullshit. I'm not going on to mainstream news and post their lies. I'll post what I feel is the closest thing to the truth and allow people to decide for themselves. If they want to investigate further, and I always encourage people to do that, then so be it. And that's great. And if they want to make decisions one way or the other, that's great too. You want to decide whether Jesus really walked on the earth and you want to investigate it, do so. Investigate whatever you like. My point here is that the state manufactures evidence like you would not believe.
Okay, so Jeff is saying that he wasn't accused, he was tried and convicted. His own lawyers didn't defend him. They were only concerned with keeping him off death row. Susan Cano says, I'm not a worker for the state. Yeah.
And I've been doing this for 12 and a half years, and I've only become more certain of this rather than less.
Yeah,
you have to make your own decisions.
I don't, and I know you got to get going now, and I don't disagree with you that the state does manufacture bullshit, absolutely. But I don't know, maybe it's my intuition, maybe that's alarming here. But he did talk about he wanted to isolate a part of Marine County and transform it into the model of Camelot. I mean,
I don't know. That sounds kind of benign to me. What's the deal of Camelot? I mean, you know what? Kennedy and Jackie were known for return to Camelot. So what are you going to do about that?
So
accuse them of something too?
Well, they've not murdered anyone.
Camelot.
Yeah.
What do you want to accuse me of? I, as far as people could say, I'm fucking crazy. I think I'm the reincarnation of Guinevere. What are you going to do about that? I sound fucking crazy. I can tell you that Bill Ryan comes from the Arthurian bloodline, according to Illuminati, that we've got proof of that. Okay. He's O negative. What do you want to do with that information? You want to say we're crazy? No. Is he really a descendant of the Arthurian bloodline? He's been told by several psychics he is. That's my intuitive take. He doesn't claim it. He doesn't even like hearing that.
But he's not murdered.
What do you want to do with this stuff? It sounds outlandish. It sounds like we're all.
See, that's the weird part about this for me, is the fact that she goes into this Camelot thing and then kind of loses it at this point in a way, like goes into JFK and they're, them be, look, I don't think JFK, and administration, they didn't, John F. Kennedy and Jacqueline, Kennedy did not just sit back and go, "Oh, we're going to acquaint ourselves as Camelot." I believe the media did that. The media coined them as Camelot because that's what the media does. So,
all fucking crazy.
Of course.
And if you want to come to that conclusion, you're very welcome to do so.
Oh, I mean, listen, I've done a documentary on channeling. I mean, I'll be the first to say all that. Do you know what I mean? Absolutely.
Right. So, I mean, I'm sorry to be. But
I don't have a background of anything bad in my background. I haven't been arrested for anything, and nor have I ever been done for murder. That's the only difference. That's the only difference.
Well, I mean, with unreason, people can be accused of anything and framed for anything. It's astonishing the number of people who have so-called suicided themselves, shooting.
Okay, I also want to bring up the whole DNA shit. That it seems like everybody always says, "Oh, I've got DNA and I'm O negative and blah 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 blah." And because these psychics said I was, then I must be. It's still not proof that you are that. I just want to bring that up because I'm kind of tired of hearing about how people, a psychic told them that they had, another alter in another dimension that could kick ass in the astral plane, and all these fantasy stories out there that everybody, just automatically believes. And again, I know psychic abilities are real, right? And let's get that on the table. But how much of this is actually really just actual bullshit, really?
Themselves in the head several times. That's a physical impossibility. I mean, these things are in the news,
and I would agree with you.
Are claimed.
And I would agree with you with what you're saying. I would agree with you with what you're saying.
Where do you draw the line? Seriously.
Well, that's
you
the thing.
just have to look at the evidence. If it resonates with you, Kevin, I can't think for you. All I can tell you is,
Thank
I've
God.
gone down that rabbit hole.
Thank God, Carrie, that you can't think for Kevin. That's a blessing.
My decision, and I've done my interviews. If you want to believe that this stuff is not true, and you want to put out the other side, go right ahead. It's fine.
But I'm go on. Okay. Well, I'm not looking at creating something that's damaging or hurtful towards anyone. I'm just saying, have we considered this? That's my point. That's only my point.
I know, but quite frankly, I'm going to appreciate your input, okay? And appreciate your sort of active conscience, if you want to call it that, where you're calling me because you think you came across something that I haven't. But as it happens, you haven't, okay? Now, had this person had something to add to this beyond sending you to links, then I would listen. But I probably, he could easily be working for the state. So easily, it's absolutely mind-boggling. On the other hand, he could just be somebody who's emotionally involved and thinks he knows the truth.
I think he's emotionally involved because he knew the young man. I think that's
fine.
Yeah.
Fine. Have you ever?
Right. Okay. Let's talk about Julian Salt for a second, Jeff. That's a good thing to bring up. The best part is the very end when Carrie says, "Contact Julian Salt. He's an expert on Mark Richards." Julian Salt was actually a believer in Mark Richards, and until afterwards when he realized he became suspicious that it was none of it was real, and so he was behind this particular documentary. And so it's interesting that she it's the point is, for people who are looking at Jeff's comment, is that she's actually referring to somebody as like a credit to her, when in her argument, when Julian Salt was in fact the person who was behind the investigation of Captain Mark Richards. I don't know why I'm still calling it captain, because I don't believe that he's a captain. I suspect the reason why I'm showing this and why I care to show it to you guys is that I suspect that there's just too many people that are associated with being in prison surrounding Carrie Cassidy. And I'm going to show you a little bit of my interview too, because again, you have, she's getting donations for Sean David Morton, right now as we speak. And somehow the one of the GoFundMe's isn't got closed for some reason, so they got to funnel the money in a different way. She's getting donations for Captain Mark Richards, who also is in prison, and I also want to make mention, and when I show you the other the interview of Kevin interviewing me, where I talk about how Alex Collier, who became a big UFO person, disclosure, I believe it's the Andromedans, wasn't it? Yeah, or I think it's the Andromedans, where he was, he also has a background of being in prison as well. And his real name is Ralph Armagron. So a lot of these people are not who they say they are. I mean, it's just like she does have a lot of association with people who, just pointing that out. Until we contacted him per Carrie's request. Okay, wait. Here we go. The best part, Julian Salt. He funded us. Yeah. So Julian Salt was the money behind making the documentary about Richard Baldwin.
Ever seen the way how emotionally involved the Ku Klux Klan gets when they go after somebody in the South? I mean, seriously, all I can tell you is, it's unbelievable, this stuff. I mean, you know.
But what, can I ask you one final thing? What if in the future the family members were found, you know, and the detectives and everything, and they actually say, listen, that was my uncle, that was my ex-husband, and that really happened.
Nobody's denying that there are family members of the individuals that are alive today. Nobody's denying that those people exist.
But then what you're saying is that Richard was off planet and he had nothing to do with it, basically. Yeah.
Considering he didn't actually do the murder, it's perfectly in keeping for him. Maybe he was, you know, I don't know, in Antarctica for all we know. I mean, you know, really, where does if he was the supposed mastermind, all of that would have taken place before they did the act, right? So the day of the murder, he could have been anywhere on the planet or off the planet. He could have been under the ocean. It doesn't matter. He was supposedly the mental, you know, person who put them up to it mentally.
And what if, right? Okay, but what if is, I'm always a what if, right? What if he actually did and he's fooled you? What would you feel then in the future that he's fooled you? I mean, what if? Just what if?
I'm not worried about it. Let's just put it that way. Okay. I made my decision. It's like a lot of decisions you make in life. You make them, you lay your bets where you will. You know, my whole career is based on people like this. He's not the only person I'm dealing with.
No, he's not the only one that could be a what if. No, true.
I've got so many whistleblowers, some of, you know, in front of the camera, some.
My whole career is based on people like this. That's an interesting statement.
Who never did come in front of the camera. And, you know, I mean, you really, it's not served to you in a silver platter, the truth. It's a wall, it's a wall of mirrors. And you know, there are going to be people that can convince you one way or the other, and it can all, you know, you must have seen watch movies, seen books where it's just you think you know one thing and then it completely reverses itself. This is the name of the game. You must make your own decisions, and and basically I can't help you with that. You know, I do what I do. You can evaluate the information he puts out. There has been a guy, if you want to talk to him, I don't know if you saw my interview with him. His name is Julian Salt. I believe that's his name. I met with him here in Britain. He is a Brit. He investigated a lot of Mark's claims, literally one by one, and found they were all correct. So you can
okay. So there's the Julian Salt part that Jeff was talking about, and actually in the end, Julian Salt funded this documentary about Captain Mark Richards.
To that person, for example, if you are really in a state over this situation, there's ways to investigate, you know, both sides of the question.
Well, that's something that I've got to consider. Yeah, I mean, I'm just like, well, you know, I think there's truth out there. This is my take on it right now, especially after being at Contact in the Desert and Alien Con. There's truth out there.
Yeah, you know, Contact in the Desert is a fucking can of worms. A lot of those people are mind controlled. They're lying through their teeth. They're not being honest. And I can go right down the list of speakers and tell you who's lying, who's not. I mean, you know, if you're using that as a reference for some kind of
I'm just
logical thought. No, I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say to you that going to these places, there's about 20% of truth, if that, and 80% bollocks, if that. 20% is true.
Fine.
Yeah. I think there's so much disinformation in the UFO field. So much. It's ripped apart by disinformation. Ripped apart. And
yeah, I think, you know, what's funny, I just did an interview, or they did an interview with me here in England with this woman her name is Carolyn Stevens. She was a campaigner for Brexit. She comes from a completely different walk of life than I do. We did it live with Miles. It's on my website. It's on my YouTube channel. It's the first interview, the most recent one. You know, you can watch it. You can see how our worlds, completely opposite worlds, come together. And what we both find is lies like you would not believe, coming from the top echelons of so-called respectability and power. And so if you want to say ufology is full of lies, I have to say, take a look at your MPs. Take a look. Do you know, she gave me a statistic. it was something like 162 MPs have all been convicted sex offenders.
Well, I don't know if that's true. I'd be careful.
It's in your press.
Yeah,
look it up.
I don't know if that's true.
Now look it up, because that's a statistic you can check.
Yeah,
okay,
I don't think
either they are or they aren't, and she's not lying. So, she ran for office. She ran to become an MP herself.
Yeah.
She's completely lodged in the mainstream, and her stuff is all out there. So all I'm saying to you is, you want to accuse ufology of lies. Hollywood is full of lies. I worked in entertainment for 20 years.
Of course it is. They're all full of lies. Of course it is.
Why target one area?
I'm not.
Scientists lie on a regular basis because they can't face the truth.
The only reason I'm talking,
our scientists have been lying to the public, and if we get into religion, then you're really over.
I'm not targeting ufology. It's just the field that I had a bit of an appreciation and was in with the talk show that I was doing, and that's why I'm mentioning it. And going and seeing these things in person, you realize just how much crap there is out there, and it's difficult to tell the crap from the good stuff. Very difficult for people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And people are constantly accusing me of all kinds of things. It's unbelievable. What can I tell you?
Nothing. Our conversation is done here. No, nothing. You've got. You're happy where you're at. And I just discovered this a few weeks ago, and it just shook my world a little bit that something as big as that Mark Richards story might not be what it seems to be on the front, and that's a difficult one to swallow when you didn't know anything about the backstory. But and I can see why you kept the backstory out of there, so that people would come up to their own conclusion just through the information that he's giving out. But I guess it wobbles your world a little bit when you know that actually, you know what, this guy's got mental health issues in the past. So why are those mental health issues not there now? That's the problem. So yeah,
that's an assumption.
It is, and only based on the court cases as well, But I think some of the things he mentions and talks about, that I think when I interviewed Joanna back years ago, many moons ago, I just thought, God, this is so far fetched. Some of this stuff, what is true in some of this stuff? Is it because the one thing Contact in the Desert taught me is that when you get out of that Contact in the Desert or get out of Alien Con, in the other worlds, no one knows about these things. It's such a small community. Such a small community.
Yeah. Well, all I can tell you is you can talk to Joanne. You can sign up to visit Mark in prison if you want to talk to the real man. If you really think you're going to investigate something, you should go to the source, right? So, and you should evaluate his personality based on that. I wish I had a camera when I was interviewing him. You really have to decide. If you think this man has mental issues, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. That's all I can tell you.
Right. Okay. Well, maybe that's
so. Believe the court documents if you will, but what we find is courts are full of lies. Judges are lies. They're pedophiles. They're everything under the sun. The last thing they are is honest. And our legal system is rife with people that are in prison who didn't do anything wrong.
And some of those cases actually do exist, and that's true what you're saying. Some of those cases actually do exist. Yes, they do. I'm not going to deny that.
This is, it's a can of worms, but I guess
I understand.
Enough time. I think you understand where I'm coming from.
I totally do.
I don't even feel it necessary to defend my side. I do what I do. You have to pick and choose your battles, so to speak. You have to pick and choose the things you're going to investigate. I investigate the secret space program, the Illuminati, and so on. What I don't do is I don't go back into the past and spend my time investigating murder cases that people are accused of masterminding at the moment. And I had to make my evaluation a long time ago, actually, because I did it actually before Camelot.
Yeah, you said that,
I came across, I investigated the case, I read about the case. It's actually a very distasteful case, but there's plenty of information out about it. And the two young men who were involved in it, who, you know, were really demented in their heads. You know, you have to deal with that.
One's free now. I think one's been freed. I think Hoover, I think Cossan, whatever his name is, he's been freed now, I think he has.
Yeah, isn't politics lovely? You know, it's always the way.
Yeah. So, okay, right. Well, I'll let you know what I'm going to do, and I mean, maybe I don't know. I don't know. But like I said, I never went to him. This guy came to me. It wasn't like I was even looking at this, but it was just interesting when.
Yeah, I get it. You know, I mean, you don't have to let me know what you're going to do. Just do whatever you do. It doesn't matter to me, you know, to be honest. I mean, it really doesn't. I mean, you can do what you do. You're an independent agent. And if you want to let Joanne know that, you know, as a journalist, you're going to do something, you know, whatever, that's fine too. I mean, you have contact with her, I'm sure. If you need her email address, I'll send it to you. But that's, you know, I mean, it's really neither here nor there what you've said to me in this conversation, because it's not anything I'm not aware of and have dealt with, not just to do with this case, but so many others. It's unbelievable.
Right. Okay. All right.
So look, you take care, and
you too.
You know, maybe we'll talk again in the future.
Yeah, maybe we will. Okay. Thanks for your time, Kerry.
All right.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. So you just heard there the conversation we've had with Carrie Cassidy. And
all right, so
as you can tell in that conversation, she doesn't care about discernment. She doesn't care that there's backlinks to the story. She believes that this man was set up and framed for the murder, and that all the court case was put in by the deep state, and that really, you know, this man is who he says he is. But of course he's not, because as soon as I started investigating the case, the next day after that phone conversation, I text Kerry and I said, there's a documentary here. You know, we've got a murder, we've got ufology, and we've got, you know, the secret space program as well, all in one. I mean, that's just, you know, insane to have that. So then I turned to Jeff and I said to him, look, this interview that we did together isn't going to happen. He was a bit upset about it, but then I said, let's do a documentary. And from there, we started making I did the research. Jeff would just listen back to all the evidence that I was collecting. I recorded all my conversations.
Okay, so I'm going to stop this interview there. I wanted to give you a flavor of how that went, and at least get through the recording. I got distracted. I had somebody text me something, and I believe, if I can remember right, and I wanted to point this out, when she says that, you know, that Simon Parks might be able to get Trump to pardon Captain Mark Richards. That's the part that really got me the most, because, you know, a Simon Parks things comes into the picture here. By the way, I did re-upload, you know, the Strange Case of Simon Parks. I retitled it. Did the Alien Cat Queen put 5 on it? And that's a really good video too, if you want to watch it, because it goes into footage of how he was interviewed by Miles Johnston in the Amash program and the UF program that happened then in the documentary, and then it goes into the Asian and the Indian cooking channels that Simon Parks and Mel K and Charlie Ward are involved with. There's another guy too, Jeff. You gave me the Simon. I know, that's so ridiculous. The Simon Parks part is just you know, come on. But it's weird that it like, even back then she was dropping this as if Simon Parks had some sort of special connection with the Trump administration, being a Brit that, you know, has alien cat queen hybrid children out there, probably you know. It's bizarre, because there is a link between Carrie Cassidy and Simon Parks and a connection to the Buanon people and to the Buanon movement that won't seem to go away. And the fact that Simon Parks came out of the Miles Johnston camp, it feels like these channels birthed something that is affecting American politics. And that's another reason why I'm covering this material as well. Okay. Oh, hi, Eloquent88. Good to see you here. Hi, all nice. You still going? Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I wouldn't pardon Mark. Yeah, I wouldn't either. I wouldn't either. I think, again, it's difficult because I don't know. I might have misinterpreted what Susan Cano was saying when she says I'm slamming the door. Hopefully she's not upset. I feel sometimes that when I cover this material, it's going to upset people, and I may have misperceived it because it's hard to tell when people just write things, but because we want to believe in what they're saying to us. The one thing about New Age, it's real fluffy, isn't it? It's like, oh, we're going to ascend and we're all going to go to 5D and we're all going to, it's, if you're more service to others and not to self, then we're all going to like bump up into this glorious light bodies and everything. And it doesn't seem like you're going to get as flack in the karmic wheel, right? Like you're not going to get like hell and damnation for being, a sinner before God. It's got a flowery way of existence. And wouldn't it be great if, we all had these, alien space brothers and sisters that were going to come down and save us right now. And again, like what, people criticize Christians for going, well, you're just looking for Jesus to save you and have a place for afterlife. But what's the difference with this? Like is it the Nephilim coming back? People think, oh, well, it's in our DNA and our light codes, and let's go be in a med bed and spend $297 to do it, and like do it by Zoom, and it's just. And what gets me about it all is that we want to call ourselves the truth media. Like I'm beginning to think that any show that has truth in it, I mean, like, okay, for example, Truth Seekers, that's fine because you're a seeker of truth. You're not saying I have the truth, but when you say I'm in the truth media or I'm giving you the truth specifically, that gets a little scary, because how do you know if your truth is actually really the truth? Right? I mean, it's better to be a seeker of truth, or, come in and let's do a show and have a conversation. Susan, okay, good. I'm okay, good. I get worried. I'm saying about Carrie's attitude with Kevin where was feeling her anger. Okay. All right. Sorry. I'm like, oh no. Okay. I got it. And thanks for still hanging in here. And the 45 has no authority to pardon Assange Snowden based on political affiliation with Bernie Sanders, but Roger Stone was different. It's a little bit 22D, I know, right? 22D, that's the part that cracked me up. We can take you to 22D. Wow. Okay. So funny. Maybe I'll find that I'll find that other. Everybody shared it with me too. Before Stephen did a show, there was a guy in the UK that has a channel. I subscribed to it, that was covering the material on the med beds, right? I don't know. I don't think Sarah's going to be able to live the med beds down. That's for sure. All right, so I wanted to show you something else. An interview. It's a video. Of let me go to my library here. A video of Kevin Moore, my response to Carrie Cassidy regarding this is 2 years ago, and I'm going to stop this here. I just think this is of note of things that Kevin Moore said in the public after his investigation, and the flack that she got back from him, and the accusations and stuff like that, and how our media treats how he was treated, how these people treated him, how Carrie his response. Okay, here, I'll share it to you. Okay, let me just share the screen. Okay, my response to Carrie Cassidy regarding my past prior to going to university. So, Carrie Cassidy did a little smear campaign on him, right? Because when you're being questioned about stuff, when you're being investigated, or you're being asked about your integrity, the normal response is to have them go, have people try to attack your character, because that's the way that they'll seem like they're not guilty of what you're, inquiring about. So let's go ahead and start at this here.
Hi guys, and welcome to this vlog update. So I'm going to get straight into it. This is going to be a very personal vlog, and I wanted to put this out there because of accusations that have been made against me as well that I want to clear. Also, I just want to say that for the past 3 months tops, I've been across in America. I arrived back in the UK on the 29th. It's now the 1st of November. And I was over there to film a documentary called Richard Baldwin, A Murder in Camelot. The reason for calling it that name was Richard Baldwin was the best friend. Well, no, he was a very good friend of Mark Richards. Mark Richards is a secret space program whistleblower. And Mr. Baldwin used to date Mark Richards' ex-wife's twin sister. So, Mark Richards knew Mr. Baldwin because of the connection with his wife, Karen, and Karen's sister, twin sister, dated Mr. Baldwin. And it was maybe about 10 months after they separated when the murder took place. So very tragic. And of course, I'm the only one that's gone out there to investigate on foot this documentary. So I know what I'm talking about. When people say it's false information, false flag, it's just a load of bollocks. I'm not going to put the evidence on here now. That will come out in the documentary. Everything's going to be released for free when the documentary comes out. So Kerry has been on the warpath because of a number of reasons. One of them is the guy that I'm working with as well, Jeff Reed. Now, Kerry's saying that Jeff has threatened her, and he never threatened her as a one-to-one. She's just playing the victim card. But, this is my documentary and his. And the only reason Jeff's on this documentary was he brought the idea to me. And of course, I didn't just jump in fully with the idea to begin with. I, went to go see Jeff, and we spent some time together. And when I really researched the case myself, I got to learn that there were so many red flags there. It was beyond belief. So out of courtesy, I included Jeff in the documentary, and he has helped me.
Actually, that's it. The Shadow Band account asked, "Is the documentary out yet?" No, it's not completely finished, but it is going to eventually come out. Kevin's had a few challenges as well in making the documentary. I personally think that Kevin probably had people that came and distracted him in his life. That's just my take. Things happened and he had to deal with issues just like everything happens. But I do believe like he's going to finish it. So, okay. Thank you. Yeah. It's coming out. And then, this was funny. I thought she was looking close to 22D in those half nude photos. Okay. So let's continue.
To research it, and he is now going to go into the background a little bit right now, because you got to understand with Jeff, he's been 5 years trying to get someone's attention to show that the Mark Richards story is not true, and that there was a real murder that took place, and that's the real cover-up, that this man's memory has now become a secret space program whistleblower's wet dream in the case of Mark Richards, because he's got nothing better to do in prison than to talk about the crap that he's doing. So, and you see, the thing is, what I've learned in Carrie Cassidy's anger is I honestly see an almost cult-like behavior or disinformation behavior. I'm not sure which. It could be insanity as a third point as well. But when you don't want to look at the evidence that someone's gathered, and you're so fixated on this being true, something's wrong. It's something's not right. And when people are just like, oh, whatever Kerry says, I'll always believe her. Why do we get like that? You see, I've said this in many other videos. People in Kerry's position and mine are like spiritual teachers in a sense. Now, that doesn't mean we always get it right. Of course we don't, right? But how can you be this spiritual teacher and act like you're acting? It's completely wrong. And then I love the way, as this spiritual teacher, which Carrie Cassidy is, has come now to look at my background, and now is looking into Jeffrey Reed and everything else. I had to expect it, and that's fine as well. That's fine as well, because when I started this documentary, I was more than prepared, and I've told this to many people, and they can back me up on this, that I was going to lose my channel. That I was prepared to lose everything to tell the truth for Mr. Baldwin. Do I know why right now? Well, because it's the right thing, that when we're being misled by spiritual teachers, that we have to take a stand. We have to take a stand. And when there's lots of evidence, not just a tiny little bit, but lots and lots and lots and lots and lots, then we should do something about that. And no one in my community wanted to even do anything about it. Even for most people, it's, oh, I'm just a talk show host, that's not my job, or don't show me the evidence, I wouldn't want to look at it anyway. We have got to the point of insanity in this field, absolute insanity. And it's just not my path anymore, not my path. I would rather have a bit of sanity in my community.
I want to bring up, address Susan's comment. Kerry was acting very cultish, not even like a real investigative journalist. Yeah, there's a bit of cultishness to this, as well as I love the fact that he brings up the spiritual teacher aspect, as and that's why I'm showing it to you, because I mentioned that he said that earlier. So.
That I've been a part of for a long time. So let's get straight into it. So Carrie Cassidy has got this researcher called, let me just bring his details up, called Paul Collin, aka Unwanted Publicity Guy. Okay. And this guy has done what he thinks is a wonderful little job on revealing my past. But matey boy, I'm going to give you the whole story. You can sit down comfortably now, and you'll be able to see some of the errors that you've made. And I'm going to fill in the blanks for you as well. Now, the problem is I don't want to bore everyone with the blanks of my past. So I'm going to have to go through it fairly quickly, right? But I'll link his article below. And this is my chance to tell you about what I used to do before I went to university in 2008, before I went to Glamorgan University. Now, just to show you some of my qualifications, I'll put them on the screen now. These are some of my qualifications from Glamorgan University. I did a degree, and most people in this field have no degree. Okay. They say they worked at a film school, done some other crap, but they didn't spend 3 years putting the effort in doing what I did. I not only got a degree, there's other links with the BBC down there with stuff I did. I got a late night talk show that was syndicated over 15 stations or more. And then through that syndication, it landed me a TV output on Sky TV in the UK. This was back in 2011. This was, in the early days of the YouTube still in some respects. Do you know what I mean? So it was still, cool to be on TV and stuff. Okay, so what did I get up to? How do I bring this into some perspective? Well, I had many companies. Okay, God, where do we start? So I went self-employed in 1999 with a company called Choice Distribution, and I had a business partner called John Warnes. We both met in Grimsby because that's where my parents moved to after leaving Slough in the UK. So it's in Grimsby, met John Warnes, and we became business partners. This is a really short, cut down version of it, right? and we had a company called Choice Distribution. It distributed software. John one day said to me, without putting any blame on him, he said, you know, have you ever looked, you know, I've looked into the adult industry, and you know, there's some good money in it if we did this as a side project to the main software that we were selling. And to begin with, I was like, oh, I don't know, should we? And then in the end, I thought, it could be a lot of fun. So we spent a lot of time researching the adult industry in the Netherlands, because Amsterdam was very close to England, and that was a legal source of content. And
now, mind you, everything that he's talking about is legal. So, you know, they're just trying to smear mud on him because of the fact that he was going into or went into a business that involved sex toys, basically.
Tried to get things up and running, and you know what? It never worked out. We went our separate ways, me and John did, in 2001. So when we split, I took the software company off him, paid him off for that, and I took any assets for the adult things that we've been working on as well. All right, I just want to jump in here as well, just to, because I've watched this vlog back, and I'm missing just some key bits here that I just want to add in. So when I split from John in 2001, then I moved away from Grimsby, and I started living all over the place, like Lincolnshire, Carlisle, or different places. And I moved with my then current girlfriend as well. And in the end, in 2007, we agreed to move to Holland, to Amsterdam, because I was going to try and see through the business, the adult business in toys over there at the time. Now, when I moved to Amsterdam, unfortunately, me and my partner, well, it wasn't unfortunate, it was what it was. You know, we decided to.
I mean, it's just kind of sad that he has to go through this explanation of his past, because she's basically trying to smear his past because he is investigating Carrie Cassidy. Anyway, so I just want to say that.
To split, and oh my God, I lost it. I lost it, and I never saw the reason through for going to Amsterdam. So I still had the software going, but I went to Amsterdam to see through this new business, never saw it through, and decided to move back to the UK. Lost a load of money from doing it, but my head was in such a bad state after she left me that it was then getting on to 2008, I want to say, that I moved back to England, back to Carlisle. And it was when I was in Carlisle that I decided, you know what, I'm never going to do this to myself again. I'm going to go to university, right? So this is now leading into 2008 when I went to university. So back to the block. And then in early 2008, the financial collapse was starting to come. I was running out of customers in the software industry because that was dying a death. The software that I was getting was harder and harder, almost impossible.
Okay, so anyway, I just wanted to show you a little bit of that video, just to kind of give a flavor of what he went through after he started to do the documentary, and I just wanted to show that just as a little bit of a side thing. Also, Greer Louise says, I met Casey at an event in UK and she was very cold. Her energy was almost arrogant, and I didn't need to know anymore. That was my best guide. Also met MJ at the same event. Total creep, LOL. Okay, so now I want to show the interview of Kevin Moore interviewing me, and the reason why I came to Kevin Moore, and again, I'm going to give Sarah credit for actually being the person that connected us, because of the fact that I was posting things. when I had been a host on Revolution Radio, I'm not going to go into much explanation here because you're going to hear me explain it when he interviews me. But I became privy of some domains and IP addresses that were connected that had Carrie Cassidy in the domain, and Revolution Radio, and different people who were in the UFO community. And at the time that I was given this information, it was given to me from a man named Ben Duchesnes, who contacted me and asked me, because of the fact that I had done shows with Revolution Radio and different UFO people, did I know anything about these domains? And because I was looking into it and getting into my own issues and problems surrounding that happening to me in my own personal life, because of it, I got hooked up with Kevin, and Kevin, not really knowing a whole lot about it or understanding it at the time, and we're still trying to understand it. I'm going to go over some of this on this new channel, but I'm going to just highlight it and put it out there for your guys' consideration. All right. I'm not going to harp on it or say that it's true or it's alleged, but I do find it interesting that Carrie Cassidy can be a hypocrite. Because she might have her backhand in adult pornography if you were to think that these websites were actually real. All right. And so, for her to go, oh, you were selling sex toys or this and that is, at least Kevin is coming out and being really honest about his past. And again, he hasn't done anything criminal. He's not being deceptive. I've said that about myself too. Like I too have written a couple of adult scripts and everything. So I have an understanding. I work this way. I tell people what I've done. Like there's transparency, as imperfect as I might appear to you, and as much as you might want to criticize me or whatever, I'm not hiding anything or pretending to be something that I'm not. And that's what I like about Kevin Moore's honesty as well in addressing this, because when you do look into things that with these people, again, as a counter, they're going to try to make your character look bad as well. You're a drug addict, you're a loser, I don't have to answer your questions. Whatever they want to assume that you are, they'll just make it up. And it's sad, but when you put things out in the public, whether they be true or not, there's always going to be some people that are going to believe what the lie, unfortunately. I don't know if anybody's ever seen that play, The Children's Hour, or the movie, but a lie can go a long way and really destroy people's lives. So, we really should be mindful of our words or what we say when we're investigating things or we're questioning things, right? Okay, I'm just putting that out there. But it is okay to put a spotlight on things and to question them and to have your own opinion and take on it. I'm figuring that's why we're like, you guys are here right now at this hour, is that we're looking at this material because we're all seekers of the truth. Shout out to Stephen Cambion. I don't know if he's still here. It's probably pretty late. It's probably, he's 3 hours ahead. I'm on the West Coast still. Okay, so let me find that the other interview that I did, and go back to here. I'm going to go to my my channel, my own channel. I guess I don't have to put the banner out when I'm showing my own material, right? This is because Kevin actually allowed me to upload both things. Okay, here it is. Now, this is titled Truth Media, Porn, and Dead People. All right. And this, I want to show you this because with my new channel, this will show you or give you the best arc to what's really going on. Real talk spirituality, Terry. Yeah, real talk. Real talk. All right. So let us watch this one. Because this explains it the best. And I really loved the graphics that let me sure I did that right. I really love the graphics that Kevin used in this and the way he put it together. He really did a great job. So, okay, so now I also want to reiterate, I think I look absolutely awful in this video. I don't know if it's the harsh lighting or whatever, or the stress I was under, but I have like big bags under my eyes and everything. I was so stressed then. So forgive me for my appearance, really. So we'll continue. God, did I share that right? I'm just paranoid about that. Let me just double check. Sorry.
Hi guys, and welcome to another edition of The Kevin Moore Show. Now on today's show, I'm about to be joined by my guest, Tere Joyce. Now just to give you a bit of background on Tere, she is the host of the Freedom of Joyce show, which broadcasts on YouTube and Revolution Radio. She's a street activist and socially conscious artist who makes music, comedy, and everything else in between. And she's covering a number of important subjects right now on her show. So this interview was...
You know, I don't make music. I just want to clarify that. Although, and I should bring that out, on some of my videos, there's a rap kind of that I do. I used to do before Freedom of Joyce, and I did that with .com Records, and that's a whole song. And I can sing, but I really don't write music.
Was recorded a couple of weeks ago in Los Angeles, and enjoy my interview with Tere Joyce.
Well, Tere Joyce, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So we've just sort of reversed the tables here. You've just done an interview on me, which I do appreciate. And now it's my turn to speak to yourself. I think what I'll do, I'll link the previous interview just below, and for what we did as well, because it kind of ties into this interview. So just tell me to begin with, right? You're on Freedom Radio?
I'm on American Freedom Radio.
American Freedom
Yes.
Radio, okay.
I've been with them for, I think, about 3 years now, and the first radio...
Thank you. Thank you for saying that you liked my interview. And I'm going to be doing more interviews on my channel. I do realize that, I mean, looking back, I'm a pretty good interviewer, and I think that should be an element that I should continue with my work. So, and my next big interview coming up is going to be John Irwin. I'm going to bring him back on the show, so I'm excited. Okay.
Alternative radio network that's in our world was Revolution Radio. I became a host there in 2014.
What made you get into this work then?
Okay. Well, my background is stand-up comedy, and I worked for over 25 years all over the United States and Canada, traveling and touring. And then my claim to fame is that I was a top 10 finalist on the first season of Last Comic Standing.
Okay, the woman, see this person's hand right there? I just want to give my own analysis. That is, that person, I don't know if I probably shouldn't say her name, but she does play a part in my demise with Sarah. She is the one who told me that she was doing her high paid readings for Sarah for $50 a pop, and because Sarah's making so much money, she was complaining that she thought that Sarah should be giving her more money. And so I'm just giving you a little side background. You don't see her, but that is her hand, in fact.
which is which was a reality show here in the United States that ran for a really long time. I don't know if they still have it going on, but so I did that, and then from there. I ended up in a raid at a medical marijuana dispensary I was in the doctor's office in the same building as a medical marijuana dispensary. And the dispensary was raided, and I was held up by gunpoint by the FBI and, all of it. And because of the fact that I was doing a marijuana-themed show in Pasadena and was getting involved politically at that time,
at the Ice House Comedy Club. All right. So, and again, we're in Altadena, which is, just right up the street.
I had been on Last Comic Standing. I was on the cover of the Pasadena Weekly with the words "Bungalows of Justice," and I'm blowing up marijuana smoke and the American flag, and how a DEA raid turned me into a missionary for medical marijuana. So that got me.
And by the way, this is how I got onto Revolution Radio, because they were interested in my story, and I went on Bernard Alvarez's show, Just Bernard, and also Roxy Lopez's show, and talked about the raid and stuff like that. That's how I became a host on Revolution Radio from those two interviews.
Into doing alternative media. I started out on New Dissident Radio, which was basically a comedy channel that had Kelly Carlin, who was like George Carlin's daughter, was on it, and various people. And I created a show called Hollywood Hemptress Hour. And from there, I was on the Time for Hemp Network. And then I was watching Carrie Cassidy and Project Camelot and a lot of the things that were online about the New World Order and this and that. And I followed Max Spears, the Super Soldier Program, and things like this. I ended up being interviewed by a host named Roxy Lopez. She did a show called The Truth Denied on Revolution Radio. And Bernard Alvarez, they interviewed me. After I did interviews on Revolution Radio, they asked me if I wanted to be a host. And I kind of felt that I was leading into this direction anyways, because I wanted to talk about more than just cannabis, because that's just one little octopus of everything else that's going on, right. Big pharma, everything. And so at that point, I created the Freedom of Joyce show, and I joined the alternative radio network.
So your website is?
My current website at the moment is freedomofjoyce.net. It's a blog site.
Okay, my current website is not myrabbithole.com. Just so I'm clarifying that to you, because I'm no longer associated with freedomofjoyce.net.
I really blogged on it for a long time. I do have freedomofjoyce.com. So please check me out on my new website that's coming up there.
Right. So, and you've got a YouTube channel as well?
I do. Yeah. Tere Joyce is my YouTube channel, and you can Freedom of Joyce show on there.
Okay. Well, we'll link that again below in the description of this video.
Okay.
So, you came to my attention recently because obviously I saw some of your videos where you were sort of not just going against some of the players in this field, like I will say Miles Johnson, Kerry Cassidy, and some other people as well.
Yes.
And
oh, thank you, Susan. I look great for being in the midst of trolling and gang stalking. Yeah, it was pretty thick for me back then, and again, it goes in waves. So it was pretty thick for me like a week ago too. But hey.
And I didn't pay too much attention to it, right? This interview with me and you right now has happened very organically. Do you know what I mean? It was something that we wanted to do, but we happen to be here in LA filming the Mark Richards documentary. So I thought, well, let's do this as well. Just explain what you've discovered and what it is that.
Okay. Yes. One of the things that came to my attention was within the first year of being on Revolution Radio. First thing I noticed was a website called Confessions of a Former White Hat, which was written, or it was revealed, because at one point nobody knew who the writer of that particular book was, but it was a man named Michael Hemmingson, who apparently has connections to Michael Aquino and the Temple of Set. Now, so let me get to this. When I first discovered that particular blog site, I was doing an interview of a man named Stephen D. Kelly, who was also a host on Revolution Radio. Now, Stephen's story is, and Carrie Cassidy has interviewed him as well, is that he's an ex-CIA NSA contractor. His claim to fame is that he made laser techno guns, was one of the first forerunners, and that he was associated with the Olive North gang, and some of his guns went to
that picture cracks me up because it's so grumpy. It's so grumpy.
Contra exchange. He became a whistleblower on the scene in 2012. And when I was researching him, I stumbled on a ridiculous article on former White Hat where it said that he was a clone and the real Stephen D. Kelly was on ice underneath the museum, et cetera, et cetera. And I was like, what is this? And when I interviewed him on my show, I made a joke about it. I thought I was joking. I go, yeah, I heard you were a clone. And then he got real serious, cleared his throat, and goes, that guy isn't alive anymore. Okay. Michael Hemmingson left the station right before I joined Revolution Radio. Michael Hemmingson had a show on Revolution Radio, and he was the Mike Ringley, Nighthawks, apparently a really good friend of his. The reason why I'm giving you this background, because it comes to play with some of the other things that I have actually discovered about Carrie Cassidy and her association to Revolution Radio, Mike Ringley, and this particular website that the Confessions of a Former White Hat. Now, what happened previously before I joined the network is there was a MK Ultra asset named Chris Neal, who ended up being, they said it was a suicide, but even Duncan O'Finian, who's also allegedly was sparred by Kerry Cassidy as being a super soldier. He prefers to call himself a CIA augmented admin. See, Kerry Cassidy has coined the super soldier terminology because she interviewed Max Spears, who has also had a suspicious death, and as well as James Casbolt, who is also associated to Miles Johnston. Are you following me here on this still?
Yeah, and of course, James Casbolt was serving time at an HM prison in the UK. He will be released, I think, in June.
Yes, possibly. But now they've
yeah.
moved him to a maximum security again. I believe that's because he has leaked or communicated with somebody and made threats against other women that are associated with the reason why he's in prison in the first place.
So, another beautiful character. Yeah, go on.
Okay, yes. All right. So now, a while back when I was on Revolution Radio, Nighthawk kind of freaked out on the channel, and he was listening to an MP3 by a man who I believe it went by the name of Sonny Eugene, or I'm thinking Lee Beck. I'm missing on the name, but it was a recorded conversation of Roxy Lopez, where he was questioning Roxy whether or not she was aware that there were all these different servers throughout California that were associated between Project Camelot and Revolution Radio. And she denied knowing any information. At the same time, the webmaster for Revolution Radio was arrested for child pornography. This is a fact. This really happened during the time that I was on the network. And God, I thought I had this on silent, and apparently it wants to make noise. Okay. I got a little distracted.
No, it's
there.
okay. So you were saying there, so the owner of the radio station, online station, was arrested for child pornography.
The webmaster was,
sorry,
okay.
yeah,
And there was a woman also named Kat Jenkins who was on, I saw her on a news clip because she was involved in it because she was living with him in the same place when it happened. She subsequently left the radio network. Now, she was part of the administration on it. So all this kind of went down, and there was Stephen D. Kelly at one point pointed out to Nighthawk Mike Ringley, that on Facebook, he goes, where there's pedo smoke, there's pedo fire. And Nighthawk, I was still a host on the network at that time. And because of my closeness to Stephen D. Kelly, Nighthawk approached me and brought this up to me. And he says, well, I'm going to sue Stephen. I said, well, do you want me to tell him? He said, no. Well, basically, that was a setup, and I knew it. So, of course, I went and told Stephen. Stephen sat on it for a while. And then I got wind of also through a Skype conversation on American Freedom Radio about Revolution Radio's association to potential some more child type of pornography type of situation. Now, I can't verify this for sure that it's actually really true or not. All I can say is that there was a conversation about it, and I investigated it somewhat. I told Stephen that. Stephen made another post on Facebook. Subsequently, after that, Nighthawk fired me from the radio network, which I wasn't getting paid anyway. So how is it that you get fired from a job that you're not getting paid for? Anyway, so I'm just giving this background because years later, a couple years later, I get an email from a man named Ben Duchesne's who claimed to be a higher up in ICANN, and he was following.
Okay, I've since learned that he was not part of ICANN, so I want to specify that to you guys.
Domains and subdomains that are associated with each
Although he says ICANN knows him.
other, and he basically said it's pretty much money laundering over the internet. He showed me some photos of screenshots of their traffic on the internet, and a light bulb went off on my head because I remembered the previous conversation, the previous time where Mike Ringley was freaking out about this conversation about Kerry Cassidy and him having these servers. Well, what I've discovered, through this and through looking at this evidence for a really long time is that it goes all the way back to Google and mainstream media publications like Veterans Today and other types of, I'm not going to go through all of them, but they are linked in domains. There's like a server that can have various domains, and they have like a chain of links of tags and words that go to a final.com. That's how they're trafficking whatever traffic, wherever it's going to, wherever that money is going to is done. Now, if you look at the screenshots, you'll see former White Hat, Michael Hemmingson, Revolution Radio, Mike Ringley, Kerry Cassidy, Project Camelot, Project Avalon, Bill Ryan, Robert Stanley, Idlewild Group. Idlewild Group is a big deal. I found like screenshots of Revolution Radio going, the Idlewild Group says thank you. Well, the Idlewild Group is connected to former White Hat, which is connected to Michael Hemmingson, who, by the way, Michael Hemmingson's not even his real name. That's a pen name. And when I mentioned the Chris Neal person, he was outing Michael Hemmingson as being, because nobody knew who wrote former White Hat, Confessions of a Former White Hat. He found out that it was Michael Hemmingson and also questioned why Carrie Cassidy was associated with him. Now, I've done several shows investigating all of this and finding the chart. When I did the show on Michael Hemmingson, I have a screenshot of it. Mike Ringley says, tried to call me 30 times that day and outed Carrie Cassidy as paying for former White Hat. So Carrie Cassidy's been behind all of this the whole time. And I'm just finding out that these subdomains are connected. They've all been connected this way. Through that, I discovered through Ben's research, which you can see online. I just did a video about it yesterday, going over one of his videos and reading every single thing in it, because the video is just words and images, because English is Ben's second language. He's French Canadian. So I went and read each one. You can see where Ralph Almagron, who is Alex Collier now, was actually in prison for 4 counts of felony against the IRS. He was actually taking people's social security numbers and using them illegally. All right, Robert Stanley from Unicus Magazine was friends with Alex Collier, or Ralph Amagron, before both of them became part of this media, being UFO disclosures. All right. And they are also linked as the Idlewild group, because Alex Collier was from Idlewild with a bunch of other people that are nefarious, doing nefarious activities. And they've all been running this little scam, with the front being that they're UFO people and part of the alternative media. That's what it looks like.
And what's the actual money there? What's the money being generated from, and where's it going?
Well, I'm not sure. That's the part that I don't know. But a lot of it is pornography. And again, I'm not being a prude about it. But they do have some interesting domain names like boypenis.com, bestiality. There's another thing that I'm going to say it, but it's shutthefuckup.com. They're linked to all kinds of things. Some of the links actually take you to Google. So it's a beast. It looks like, and it's not just him, but it's also Randy Moggins from Off Planet Radio. Miles Johnston has it going on. Although Randy Moggins and Miles Johnston's websites do not necessarily link up with Kerry Cassidy's group. Kerry Cassidy is definitely Idlewild Group, Mike Ringley, freedomslips.com, former White Hat, Michael Hemmingson. That is awesome. I could even show you, and I mean, if you want, you can intersperse this in later footage.
Yeah, I think we should put some stuff on the screen so that people can see right now. And also, as well, who's to say this information that you've got is not just been planted by someone that wants some revenge on these people?
It could be, but there is another website, another video of Ben where he puts it in, where he's searching it, and it pops up. It's so prevalent. Each one of these people have been contacted by Ben already, and I've also seen their conversations with one another.
And what's been the sort of basis of that conversation?
Well, Randy Moggins is very insulting about me, to be honest with you. In his comments, both Randy Moggins and Miles Johnson have put out videos about it, but they're all over.
Also, I want to point out that Randy Moggins and I don't know if I say it here. I might be repeating myself, but I had done shows with Randy before. I had done a show. He had invited me on his I think it was the Consumer Conscious Network. At one point, he had been on my show several times, and we worked on the Liberty Beacon project together. I think I will mention this. So, like I said, I have a history, a good history in the beginning with Randy Moggins. I had a good history. I mean, I interviewed Duncan O'Finian a few times. I had, until these things happened, I was in good standing. And then all of a sudden, when I questioned this, you'll see. And you probably already know.
Over the place. And it's basically, in my opinion, a deflector as to what's really going on. Randy Moggins has had contact with Ben Duchesne's way before I even came in the picture. Carrie Cassidy has also been contacted about this. She's perfectly aware of it. And the thing that Ben says that he finds interesting is all of them, you would think that they would be concerned that something like this was happening around them, but they all seem to attack him, attack everybody around, make up stories, try to do whatever. I haven't heard a peep from Kerry Cassidy. Kerry Cassidy hasn't said a thing. The person who seems to come after me right now is Miles Johnston publicly, Mike Ringley, as well as Randy Moggins.
Okay, and I'll go back to it as well. I mean, it's very interesting what you're saying.
And I want to add something. There's another person too, Durwood King Mahone, also comes out and does rants saying that I'm calling people pedophiles and this and that, and I'm a pedophile because I'm the person calling it out. But this is what this is about. It's about talking about these domains. I'm not calling anybody a pedophile. I'm especially not calling Randy Moggins is saying that he's been involved with this. Although because of the association of the past with Revolution Radio's past and the way some of these domains look associated mostly with Revolution Radio and Carrie Cassidy, there are the websites that had titles like boypenis.com and things like this. And I'm not making this up. I mean, these were, actual screenshots. I still have many of the screenshots, and I've done several videos on my other channel about this particular topic.
But, when you go, when accusations are made towards people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And where is the proof? Do you know what
I
mean?
have the proof. The proof is that you can see the actual web domains. The proof is that there's a series of investigations that Ben has already done where he's connected the dots. He researched about Ralph Omicron. And he's showing screenshots of conversations that are redacted between Robert Stanley and Alex Collier, etc.
Where's that information?
It's online, and I just did a video where I mirrored one of his videos. I'm going to do two more of them too as well.
Okay, so if we put the links in the description below,
and so it's Mark a Big Mess is his channel, and a lot of the things, again, you're going to have to read. He writes in text a lot in the information. You might, if you're into it, stop. Pause your video and look at it and read things. He also has a website, BBQ'd. Maybe I can pull it up to
Mess, I believe is what it is. Okay, I'm just scrolling.
Actually, you mentioned truth. You mentioned Truth Seekers. Yeah, you know what? Yes, this is the reason why I'm doing this is because Truth Seekers did a show about earlier tonight. I mirrored a recording that Kevin Moore dropped on my interview of him. And actually, Stephen Cambian was in the chat earlier tonight. So yeah, I am familiar with Truth Seekers covering the topic. Absolutely.
Mark a Big Mess right here. The one that I mirrored is called Round 50, the family reunion, and you could basically see all of it. Now this one doesn't show you how he puts the information in, but this is one of them. And again, I've been communicating with Ben for a year and a half now. He sends me a current shot, and this actually goes, like I said, it goes to the mainstream media. It goes to major gurus that are part of the domain naming industry.
For what point then? Where's the money in all this? Where does the money take us from?
Well, I'm not sure where the money takes us to, but they're definitely using Carrie Cassidy, former White Hat, and all these different people as part of the traffic and a part of the See, if you were, let me bring this up. If you look at this and look at the highlighted area on that, where it says, it'll say Idlewild Group, former White Hat, Kerry Cassidy. All these things are already tags on the internet anyways. So whatever their mainstream websites are, they're linked to these other .coms. And wherever that, and some of these types of screenshots will also be connected to bestiality. Here's what Bill Ryan, Corrupt Dick, Bill Ryan, Project Camelot. There's also David Wilcock, Divine Cosmos is in one of them.
These could have just been set up to make them look as though.
But there's tons of them. There's so much of it with different .coms at the ends of it where it's starting that it doesn't seem like it's a one person time hit. It seems like it's a knowing. It's deliberate, and it's being done. It's not just like meta tags. They're actually domains that connect to.
But why would you be so silly to use your actual names and stuff like this? I mean, you would go by aliases. You wouldn't put names that are traceable back to yours if you were shifting money
because
this way.
maybe they didn't think they were ever going to get caught. I mean, think about it. You know, that's a good question. Why would you use your own evidence?
Yeah, unless someone's purposely just setting you up for those who would follow such evidence to make it look like it's real, and it's not.
Yeah, but who's following it other than someone like me?
Someone like you has caught onto it.
What?
Someone like you has caught onto this, and you have rattled some cages.
But the only reason why Ben's contacted me is because I'm associated with them.
Right.
Okay, he knew that I.
And how trustworthy is Ben?
You know what? A good question.
Yeah.
That is a very good question. I couldn't really, say for sure, how trustworthy is he? But I'm getting a better. But what does stand out to me is the awful reaction that these guys, that the people who are being questioned have had. Like, for example. I'm going on the fact that I had a relationship with these people that was fairly good in the beginning. Matter of fact, excellent.
With Miles, with Kerry.
I've interviewed Miles before. Okay, I've interviewed Miles twice. I've actually, I worked with Revolution Radio. I had a Saturday night show on the network.
So why couldn't they have come to you in a more sensible
manner? I have
also
worked with Randy Moggins. I've been on his show. He's been on my show.
Okay,
we have mutual friends. So why couldn't he have come in and cleared his name?
If you came to me with that stuff, I would come on and I'd be like, well, as I am right now,
exactly,
it's not true. I can honestly say that what you've got there, but then it's only my voice to say it's not true. I can't prove once someone's put that out there. I can't prove 100% it's not true, but then what have I got to lose by coming on to say that is just not genuine? If someone's demeanor and the way they come across would show that there's some authenticity there, that whatever's being presented is not true. Do you know what I mean?
I got trolled all over my internet. Okay, when I started stumbling on this, it's almost like I literally woke up the next day and I had people all over my social media that come from Revolution Radio harassing me, saying stuff on my social media. Miles Johnston trolled me. They all trolled me. None of them came out and said, "Oh, Terry, I want to have a conversation with you."
Did you invite them to come on to begin with?
I did.
Before I publish this, I'm going to get you to just talk about it. Or did you
what happened was when this all went down, the first thing that happened was I spilled the beans on it, and in a way, and I'm not sure, and I feel bad about this, and I've even said it. I was under a lot of distress at the time that I was contacted and looking at all of this information that was going on. Yeah. When I looked at this information, I had re-edited a video about Max Spears, and I found some inconsistencies on how our own media was covering what happened. And I felt like they were at some point trying to telegraph him as being an addict or that it was a drug overdose.
Yep.
When I did this, I got a woman that is another host on Revolution Radio very, very excited about it, Christine Joanna Hart, and she started coming at me personally and through my Facebook and my social media and things like this. That was the first thing that started to happen. Just from re-editing a video that I had done previously before.
Nothing to do with this, just
right. So causing me some personal distress at the time, witch spells and all kinds of craziness going on. Then I was doing a show on True Cat Radio, which is owned by Stephen D. Kelly, who also was the host from Revolution Radio, the little circle here. And I was sending him this information privately on Skype. He never had he never made a comment about it. Then in the middle of my show, halfway through, he brought it up while I was on air, and I spilled the beans and started talking about it. That was the first thing that came out, where I was talking about it, and then I started getting harassed about it. Oh, it's not true, it's not this, it's not that, it's not blah, 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 blah. But I did say to Randy Mogan, through a mutual friend of ours. And also, I said it publicly that if it's not true, come and talk to me about it.
Yes, just an
And
email,
there was
whatever it may
was
be,
no
yeah.
nothing.
Yeah.
And then the other person turned on me and said that I was slandering them and blah 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 blah.
I can kind of understand that, right? But
Right.
yeah, but if you had done that to me, and that information was out there about myself, what else could I do but to say, well,
Okay, and so here's where I want to take the conversation, even tonight, okay, to everybody out there, right, including Carrie Cassidy, including Randy Moggins, Nighthawk isn't around anymore to have this conversation. Miles Johnston, if you guys want to come on my live stream and talk about this now, you're more than welcome. Like, I'm not wanting to, like, I certainly don't want to blame something on somebody that is, that when they're not guilty. But if you'd like to have an open conversation about this and be civil about it, I'm more than happy to have the conversation. And at least, especially Randy Moggins. I mean, Randy Moggins, I believe the way he sounds, he could explain what this is, but he's never given me the respect to do it. And I've had several times where he's like, again, just like Tash, I don't owe you an explanation. I don't owe you, like Tash, I don't owe you an explanation about, the fact that Sarah has a different story than Sandra DeRoy in terms of like the actual details of the last days of Max Spear's life. I don't have to answer your questions because you live in an RV and you have no future. So you're a loser. Therefore, I don't have to answer your question. Should we accept that from people that are, our spiritual teachers, or, that are able to be, a multi-dimensional life coach or whatever? Should we accept those kind of explanations from people like that? I'm just putting that out there, right? I mean, I could be on my live stream in my little RV, whatever, and ask that question. I think I have the right to do it. Inquiring minds want to know what the truth is. We are truth seekers. We want to know what the truth is.
well, that's not true. I don't know what that is. That's got nothing to do with me.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh, I've had conversations with Nighthawk about it. I mean, they've all tried to give me some excuse as to what it is.
And what was the sort of...
Well, one of them was, Nighthawk was like, oh, I can just do a meta tag on anything, blah, 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 this is nothing. But, and then made an example of it. And then I asked him, I go, oh, well, why are you doing this? Is this causing more traffic to your network? I mean, what would be the purpose of doing something like that? He never responded. All right, this was through emailing that happened on my YouTube channel, which I have screenshots of. I've taken screenshots of every single conversation, not every single one, but basically like their reactions to me, I have actually kept a file on.
It's almost like that, what you've got there is, if someone wanted to take this group out, then there was always something in the background to release just to say, look, put this out there now, and, they've had their time on the circus. I don't know. I'm not clever enough to work out what you've got there.
I don't think that's the problem. It's even taken myself a while to understand it. And so...
You know what would be great? To have a neutral IT guy here that really knows his stuff, right? And then to go through the evidence. That
apparently was Ben. I mean, but he's not willing to talk.
No, he's not willing to talk. How do you?
It would be important. It would be good if somebody could, look at it and get a second opinion on it. At one point, I thought Stephen D. Kelly had somebody like that, but I never got any word back from him on that.
You can't verify anything, can you? Do you know what I mean? If he's the guy that's putting this out, he's not willing to talk because
not publicly.
Yeah, well.
Yeah. I mean, because he says that he has to protect himself.
Well, probably I can understand that, right? If this is true, right?
Right.
But yeah, there should be an IT guy that comes along to verify that information independently and can say, all this is either rubbish or, oh yeah, no, these do connect like he's saying it does. Do you know what I mean?
Then I should look for that IT guy to verify that that's what it really is. I will tell you this right now, before this interview today that we're doing at the moment, a few days ago, Stephen D. Kelly contacted me. He's outing this as being exposed soon. And he was really like, I want you to give me the way the traffic is or what names are associated, blah, 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 blah. And I was like really busy. And I said, look, I've got this, this, and this. And, so I find it odd that all of a sudden he is, somewhat pressuring me to give him information for him to talk about on his channel, like what has activated him to want to take this information, right, and put it out. I mean, I realized that a year and a half ago, we talked about it, but this is, I've definitely still been looking at it. The reason why I'm looking at it so much, the consistency that I can see in association to what you're talking about with Mark Richards, is that Carrie Cassidy is surrounded by people who have been to prison before. I have an actual photograph of a screenshot of a redacted conversation of Robert Stanley saying that Kerry Cassidy was told about Alex Collier changing his name to Ralph Emigron. That she does associate herself with people that, again, like it even said then, like, oh.
All right, and I want to read this to you just so that, because you can see things like this really quickly. You can miss the details, but I want to read. This is Randy Moggins regarding Carrie Cassidy. So Randy Moggins is communicating with Ben Deshane, and he says, yes, Hemmingson was former White Hat. No, I think I don't think he is dead at all. That was a cover story to remove the asset from the field after Hemmingson was outed by Chris Neal as FWH, and the subsequent death by suicide of Chris Hemmingson actually revealed who he was in a Cassidy interview as an intelligence asset. The various cover names, including Louis Connin, were cover stories. He was also behind the White Hats that Cassidy heavily promoted back in 2010 and 2011. My only direct contacts with Cassidy were over her shilling for Richard C. Hoagland, and later in 2011, her promotion of the FWH blog. That is all documented on my old blog, which is still archived online. And of course, that's where you can see it. I'm aware of the gaming of IP addresses. I actually have a significant database of the records. I just still have no definitive proof, smoking gun, as to method and motivation. I don't know what to do about it, i.e. how to sanitize my own ID assets. This is a tech area outside of my expertise beyond fundamentals. This game is still running. The recent death of Max Spears smells very suspicious, given the same players are on the field. Just substitute James Casbolt, Michael Prince for Bill Brockbrader, Max Spears for Chris Neal, Cassidy Johnston, this latest Christine Joanna Hart. It's a round robin of assets, fake and real. Okay, so that was a response to Ben from Randy Moggins.
Oh, Carrie Cassidy likes to hang out with these types of individuals, which means that she may have already a knowingness of the type of people that she's presenting as authentic UFO disclosures. Despite the actual web domains and the subdomains and the possibility that, this is all made up and everything in the traffic and, there not be anything there. The fact that Alex Collier lived in Idlewild, which is one of the tags, the fact that Nighthawk wanted to tried to call me 30 times after I did a show about Michael Hemmingson and tracing back to Chris Neal and the death of Chris Neal, and that young man questioning Why was Carrie Cassidy associating with somebody who's basically writing negative things about the assets, about MK Ultra people? And he also was writing pornography that involved, or softcore that involved, characters like people who were MyLab and MK Ultra and sex slaves and things like this. Apparently, he died of a heart attack in Mexico, but there's several people that want to claim the reason why he died. See, I mean, that's the part that gets me. It's like, why the death? Why the death? And then also Revolution Radio's association to the Idlewild group. And then Nighthawk wanting to throw the responsibility off of who actually owned the former White Hat blog. I find that all to be interesting in juxtaposition, because these are comments about other videos I did about this particular topic.
And also, there's a lot of heat right now. Let's just change it, but there's a lot of heat right now with people like Corey Good and David Wilcott, right? But I think this side of the field gets missed out sometimes, like the Kerry Cassidys of this field as well. The Simon Parks of this field. I'm not saying Simon's involved in anything we talked about here, but the other fraudulent people that you've been covering that are not, it just doesn't seem to be as, as excitable as Corey Good. We've missed that there's another gang here that's just as problematic in this awakening truth movement.
Yes. And again, the reason why what Ben showed me initially resonated with me was because of Nighthawk being so excited about that taping of Roxy Lopez and this other gentleman talking about the fact that they had servers connected and that whole subject matter. Stephen D. Kelly also has told me that at one point Stephen got fired, and then according to him, Nighthawk asked him back because of the fact that they had this child pornography thing going on, and they needed to, we're all going to work together, and he needed to bring back the image of what's going on. You also have Sean David Morton being a player in this, of which recently I've seen a video where, she's still allowing to put up blogs on her website from him.
Kerry is.
Yeah, and he's also connected and gone to prison for a tax fraud type of situation. So there's that.
But
there's two people.
Alex
Collier and him have been dirty dealings with the IRS and their UFO front people.
What I've always said, I said to you, didn't I, before this interview? I said, when you've got a platform like Project Camelot, conspiracy, the more conspiracy it is, the more fear porn it's driven by. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And the more people love fear porn, a bit like Alex Jones, complete fear porn. I find it, watchable sometimes, but I'm not looking more at the technical side of what he's doing. I think, imagine that there was some love in that, imagine there's some light in that work that he's doing, right? But no, fear porn sells, and when you've got that type of platform like Kerry has as well, I mean, why can't you do something good with it? Why are we giving this platform to all these unsavory characters who have proven to be absolute, frauds, a lot of them? It's almost like we're getting to the point in this interview where it comes down to, is it purposeful disinformation? Is all this laundering that you maybe found set up for some other reason? Do you know what I mean? That it's just not clear right now. But
some of the links actually go all the way to the Clinton Foundation and to the deep state. So according to Ben, this is the internet's way that they do.
Okay, so I mean, and when I talk about, when I talk about the links going to, I hate to say the word deep state. I used the word deep state during this particular interview, and that feels, that sounds very booing-on. So I don't want to sound booing on. But some of Randy Moggin's off-planet media domains connected to Comey and the FBI, and there's Platte River was in some of the domain names. Platte River was like a code word that had to do with the tech company that was storing the Clinton's private emails. So it was just kind of interesting that Platte River was in that. again. So and I'm not accusing Randy Moggins in being involved with the deep state. I know that Thomas Williams, T.W. Williams, threw that out, and that I was saying that he was trafficking people with the Clintons. Obviously you can see that I'm not saying that here, but everybody stretches it out into a big, proportion. So if you want to know what I really said, it's right here, and I'm showing you guys. All right.
Trafficking, and it looks like, we are alternative media, but from what I've been researching and the way it looks like our alternative media is still just another leg of the other media, and they're kind of collapsing together in the entire illusion of what our reality really is. And some of them have their hands in the back, money of everything. In terms of I mean, the only thing that these screenshots have done is actually validated what I was already suspecting may have been going on in the first place.
Where are you going to take this work that you've got right now? What do you do with this now? I mean, I know and I appreciate you coming on right now. I mean, this was an interview. I'll be honest, that I was saying to my producer, I just don't know enough about this. Do you know what I mean? What is
anyway,
this?
so I'm going to stop that there. When I publish this tomorrow, I'll make sure that I will put the links for you guys to watch, and also I'll make sure that I link Ben Duchesne's website. It's kind of late right now. I could have gone farther. It's already, here it's 12:30 in the morning, and I know that a lot of you guys oftentimes are watching from the UK, so I appreciate that. First of all, I want to thank all of you who have found me here. If you are seeing my channel for the first time and you do like what I'm doing, again, this channel will be somewhat of my satirical rant, which you'll see me post in a while. Some of my channel will be interviews that I'll be doing here, and live streams like I've been doing and looking into things. And I love having you guys here and joining me in the conversation as well. I really, enjoyed my interviews with Kevin Moore. I think it's probably one of my more professional looking work that I've done. And I really respect his work and his investigation into Carrie Cassidy and everything as well. And I also want to give a shout out again to Steve Camion at Truth Seekers for highlighting this on his channel as well, and also telling people to come over and to join my channel. Marcello, what do you think? Now we know the pizza Muraki is out there, and the CPPR department rides want to normalize it. Perhaps. I mean, here's the thing. Buanon made up a lot of stuff, and I kind of have an argument. I think it's odd because, my stuff where I talked about some of this and I had certain key names in it, one being Isaac, right? It's interesting that whole thing came out on Lift the Veil, and he still has a channel. He actually spurned part of this, and yet he's still out there, and he's even talking about and still up and everything. And I just find it interesting, who gets to keep their channel and who doesn't get to keep their channel, and why. And I often think that, I did get nabbed on some of those things. And even when I was not talking about it favorably, but the fact that it was up in our voices or mentioned or whatever, we got nabbed for it. One more time, I want to let you guys know that I do have a Facebook page. I'm going to see if I'm going to try to put it back here again. I just created it. I created a Facebook Facebook and not my rabbit hole I had it earlier in the thing, and then I should probably just Facebook dot. Wait, hold on. Darn it. Okay. Let me just type this out here for a second. I gotta be facebook.com / not my rabbit. Oh, look at me. Facebook. Actually, that's interesting because Facebook is actually one of the domains that they traffic things on. Okay, here it is. Facebook, not my rabbit hole. I think I might even show you my actual page here for you to look at. I'll do a share screen on my new Facebook page not my rabbit hole Facebook page. I guess I'm going there. I'm still tweaking my Patreon, which I'm going to be getting ready here soon. But that's my Facebook page. So if you are on Facebook, please like my page. Let me highlight this and put that in the chat, and I'll put that in the chat right here, because I'll be posting things there. That's where you can find me. If you also want to send me a friend request on Facebook as well, if you want to be my Facebook friend, please do. At Tere Joyce on Facebook. I'm at Instagram, Tere Joyce, at Tere Joyce on Instagram every Friday night at midnight. I do mostly every Friday night. The last couple of weeks I've been a little bit off because of things have been happening. But I'll be doing one this Friday night. So join me on the chat on that when I'm doing the live recording for my satirical rant. And I really do appreciate everybody's support. I might not I'm going to try to live stream at least once or twice a week over the next couple of weeks. I intend to do more live streams, but I'm also building new things, and I'm moving to a new location. I'm also putting together offgridcomic.com and showing my journey of remodeling and doing the solar thing and everything like that, and bringing in some comedy with that concept as well. So I'm very excited about the new. Like I said before, I'm letting go of the negative and the toxic relationships and the old way, and then I'm looking forward to go to the future. And I think that's how we got to do it, and go with love, forgiveness, and grace. And I'm hoping to make this channel a new start and a new way. So shout out to Kevin Moore. Shout out to all of you who are here tonight and who have checked in. I will be following up on some of the Daddygate stuff, but I also sort of felt the need to pull back on some stuff. Some of talking about certain topics, it can be exhausting sometimes, and they're difficult topics to talk about, and they get big reactions from a lot of negativity. To the people who are being negative, everybody has the right to research things and show evidence and present their own dialogue and their own thoughts about what they think the truth is or what they're looking into. The thing that gets me about how people treat others online, in terms of, there's a difference between breaking down a topic and talking about something, or criticizing somebody, or saying, hey, these people are scammers. It appears this way, looking to expose people that might be deceptive. And because look, again, we're talking about us understanding what is happening right now. Right? We're kind of like trying to shine a light, like what's going on? And we've all kind of been going through something. Like everybody goes, oh, I'm red pilled. Well, that's also just a phrase. That's part of the Buanon lingo. That's part of the Matrix, right? The Matrix. But Obviously, I agree with the theory of the Matrix, but you know what I'm saying. It's still a version of mind control that people have fallen into. I don't know why humans are so naive to just fall into these things. Like a certain word gets said, and we're like, "Oh yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's what reality is." So. Look, I think it's important to to have discernment, or to question, or to say, wait a second here, is that really what it is? That's being normal. That's being normal. I think that's like keeping somewhat of a level head on stuff. So anyway, oh, Jeff, you're still here. Oh wait, that I scrolled up higher. Jeff isn't still here. Yeah, Jeff probably went to bed. Mark Solo says go on Telegram. I could go on Telegram, but the thing of it is that, and I probably will go on some of these other channels that are not part of YouTube, but I don't want to lose my YouTube presence. I want to be able to talk in a way, and I think there's a way to do it, to have discussion and to have open dialogue, because YouTube has the most traffic. It has the best algorithms. It is like being the most legitimate online in some ways, even though you're restricted. All media has a restriction in it in many ways. There's always something like, okay, yeah, we have free speech and this and that and blah 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 blah, but this media, it has requirements to it that you do have to follow, but then the rules change. And when the rules change, then it's like, oh, well, that was okay yesterday, but it's not okay today. And so it's like, for me, in my last channel, I got nabbed for my past stuff that had happened like in 2016, 2017, 2018. Right? So yeah, YouTube has the best music. Yeah. Yeah, it does. It does. It has good. Well, Spotify does too. All right. So I guess I will say good night. Mark Solo, Eloquent 88, Susan Cano, I don't know, Shadow Band Account, Bottega Verardi, Rudy Roo, whomever might still be here. Good night, and I will see you next time. Take care.